like to bring to order the Tiverton Town Council meeting of January 19th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. I just want to make it clear that we don't have to necessarily vote tonight. We probably will vote for some things, I imagine, but there are new council members also that haven't heard a lot of what was said for the last two times we discussed this. So I'm going to start with the school committee, if they want to come up. And the superintendent's, yeah.
John?
He wants to stay in the background. Now, I understand there's a change, correct?
So it depends what you mean by that.
I mean,
but ask
what you
go
gave
ahead.
us to renovate the THS locker rooms was 1.2.
Correct.
Am I to understand that went up?
So we don't know. So the answer is probably yes, almost certainly yes. So,
So what are you estimating?
let me kind of gloss it a little bit. So when we first did this, it was earlier 2022, we had a $1.2 million estimate to do the boys and the girls locker rooms at the high school from our previous architect. We have since changed architects. The new architects are estimating that it's more like $1.9 million, but I don't think that that number is very hard right now because we do not have the detail of the drawings, sort of the new drawing, and sort of, you do an estimate at one level and then you get into the more nitty-gritty of the project. And we had a meeting of the building committee on January 3rd, and that's when they told us it may be more like $1.9 million, but they do not have the detailed drawings or studies that they would be able to let us know how hard that number is, and they estimated those would be available sometime between 4 and 6 weeks from that date, so that would put us in mid-February,
So by mid-February, you may
I think we'll have a harder number. I think we have to keep in mind that this is a 57-year-old building and you're talking about plumbing. And my opinion, and just please bear in mind it's an opinion, highly speculative, that it's probably going to be higher, is my guess. And the reason I say that is because it's a 57-year-old building and we know what it costs us to do the bathrooms. And we're talking, I think anybody who has a house who's ever done anything knows that as soon as you start talking about plumbing and stuff like that, the costs can go up. So, it's not $30 million, probably.
What did you say?
I said it's not $30 million.
Well, we don't have 30 million.
And I'm pretty sure it's
set
not
up
$1.2 million. It may come in at 1.9 or 2. I certainly wouldn't expect it to go, again, highly speculative. I wouldn't expect it to go much higher. But that's, we're in that neighborhood. That's as honest, that's as fully as I can actually describe where we are with things right now.
And I'm going to go down the line and have the town council ask you any questions. I just want to talk to you about your priority.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got about 4 items here that say security upgrades.
Right?
Now, this is a safety, obviously, issue. Do you feel that these security items are more of a priority than fixing the locker rooms?
So the school committee has not met to discuss that specifically. I can tell you what my opinion is, and then I'll allow Dr. Sanquioni to express his opinion. Schools are safe now, insofar as, we have made many security upgrades over the course of the last 10 years. I would venture to guess that the committee would come down on the locker rooms being a higher priority in terms of an achievable project than the security upgrades that we kind of detailed for you previously. Those numbers have not changed insofar as we know. We haven't gone to bid on any of this stuff, obviously. But if I was going to say where would the committee go, I would speculate that the committee would go with the locker rooms. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Sanquioni.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Town Council. To Dr. Larkin's point, they're listed as security upgrades, which means our schools are safe. All of our schools have cameras. All of our schools have vestibules that people have to enter before they enter the building. They all have systems that are in place right now. They're high quality, probably ahead of most of the schools in Rhode Island. The upgrades will certainly make the schools safer, but they are upgrades. We are very safe right now. But to the point of the locker rooms, the bathrooms in there and all that, they're borderline unusable. And so, again, I would echo what Dr. Larkin said, that the priority from the administration standpoint would be to do those first.
No, I'm just saying this out loud and because I don't want parents to be calling saying, well, how can you say fixing the locker rooms is more important than our children's security? So that's why I wanted it to be said out loud, because you do know that will be said unless we explain this.
Yeah, and I think the answer is that we have made security upgrades every single year in a lot of different ways. It's not just, hardware. It is training, it is processes, it is school resource officer. There's a lot of other things that we have done in order to try and make the school safe. So I feel confident that schools are as safe as we have been, as you can make them. And there's always a tension between turning the schools into a bunker and turning them and keeping them a place where, children can go and thrive and learn. And there is an amount of mitigation that you just can't get past. Or there's a finite amount of mitigation that you can do. So.
And I think my other question is, if we can't fund you with 1.9 and we decide a lower number for the lockers, could there be some readjustments on what you're doing there?
So that's one of the biggest issues right now, or biggest questions in my mind, is exactly what are those plans going to look like? Is there, what are we getting for that? I just don't know yet.
Okay.
And I would say that, if there was money that was earmarked for that, and then we were able to come back and say, okay, this is where we are now. Maybe it has to wait, or maybe there's other revenue streams, or I don't.
Well, there isn't, Jay, I'm gonna go right down and have everybody ask questions. But there is another
wait on that.
revenue way to do this, because we did put on the agenda to restrict whatever you get back from RIDE.
Right.
It was written this week, and it's up for approval. So any reimbursements that you get will go into this restricted account.
Right.
So when I'm thinking that would help with the lockers, if we suppose we gave you 1.5 or whatever, I'm
Right.
just saying
Yeah,
a
yeah.
number. And then that account is established, and we're getting quite a lot back. So that's in there, and then we say to you,
Right.
you can use so much out of that money to finish the project. This is just my thought, this is not the council talking, but that's what I'm thinking in my head, because that is gonna occur very quickly. Once we approve it, Treasurer, I talked to her today, and it can start immediately.
Yeah, I think that'd be a very reasonable approach, but until we know the real number, how to finance it is still a little bit up in the air.
All right, thank you. Dennis, do you have any questions right now?
No, I don't.
Mike?
Yeah, but just to note, Jerry, you do have a quorum in the room now, so I don't know if you want to do something about that first.
Okay, I'm going to call the school committee to order, and we are in session. Hi, Diane.
She walked in while I was speaking.
First, to follow up on the president's last question, when we had the last school building committee, I had asked this. Do you know what your current reimbursement is from the $2 million that we allocated from the last gambling revenue?
I'm going to turn that over to the superintendent.
Approximately 700,000.
Okay, so if we create this fund, we could put that into it, so that could be looked at as part of
Yeah,
this
because when
form.
I'm thinking we give you so much out of the gambling money, and then we say, use the reimbursement to finish the project.
Awesome.
But that was just something.
Wouldn't say no.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't. Who would?
And then you get reimbursed on top of the reimbursement.
Yes.
Well, so that's the other thing.
And that's a 45, like, what is that reimbursement rate?
It really depends on the project itself, but I believe that would be upwards in the 40%
Yeah.
range.
Okay.
I don't know.
45%.
No, that's
45.
okay.
855,000.
So this is gonna grow, and some of these projects that we have here, we can just authorize you to use that money also. Go ahead.
Okay, so some pointed questions in terms of process. Then we've had this conversation, I've had it in the school building committee. I am concerned that there is some looseness around purchasing processes. You know, I look at what happened with the oil about a year ago, the whole thing with paper tutoring, and then a little bit of a glitch with having the current architects on the agenda for the December school building committee when the committee hadn't finalized the contract. And I know they had authorized you to move forward with negotiations, so, and I'm not sure how to address this, but I am not comfortable with providing money from any of these funds if we're not going to follow the established purchasing rules and processes, which for me is, most of the time, if it's not on the master price agreement, you're gonna have to go out to bid. I mean, very occasionally, you might be able to justify a sole source or a single source, but that's pretty rare. So I'm just putting that out there, that from my perspective, if that type of approach continues, I'm going to be very hesitant to approve money. It's not because the projects aren't worthwhile. It's because we need to have a very transparent process in government.
So I take your point, and we are certainly striving to make sure that we do follow all policies, and we're certainly open to the criticism in real time or even retrospectively. If you think we should do something differently, we're certainly willing to listen to that. I, of course, can only speak for myself right now, but that's, I'm sure, would be the sentiment of the committee as a whole.
And, you know, one thought that I haven't raised this before, is that for anything that comes out of these funds, whether it's new allocated funds or the revolving funds, that before you move forward with any vendor, that Chris, the town administrator, needs to be involved in making sure that he's comfortable with the proper processes being followed from a purchasing perspective.
We can certainly bring that back to the committee. They would be the ones ultimately to make that decision. I don't see, you know, we are always interested in being as transparent as we possibly can be. And so, you know, any question, any concern, please raise it with us. And I can certainly, when we get to that stage of things, we can take that up as the committee. They're the ones that ultimately make that decision.
At the same time, this money we have the responsibility and control for, so we might impose that too.
No, I understand.
And again, I'm not speaking
Yeah.
for anybody else other than myself right now.
And that does concern me too, because we did talk to the people that we needed to talk to about the oil. And admittedly so, we had to go out to bid, but then we had another occurrence of it. So I'm not quite sure if you're really getting the point here, because the tutoring was another occurrence of it. So I am also concerned, because if we're giving you this money and you're not going through the proper process, that kind of lays on us a little bit too. And that also concerns me. It's not just Mike.
If I may,
Yes.
maybe to elicit your confidence, if you look at the $2 million that you allocated for all those other projects, they were all bid successfully and appropriately and done correctly. So that may give you some confidence
Yeah,
to
I
know
do,
that
but-
the revenue, that when it's allocated, is allocated correctly.
Thank you.
Anything else? That's all. Jay, any questions or concerns?
Mike beat me to it.
To my left this time.
She usually looks right first.
Yeah, I usually go this way.
Well, all I'm going to say on the subject is, we have had some missteps on both sides of the pond here. And we just need to make sure that we find them at the front end instead of finding them by oops. That's my only concern. The other one is, yeah, we're gonna get about, what, 700,000 back from RIDE, which would cover the potential shortfall on locker rooms. I'd rather we didn't have to do that, but if push came to shove, it's possible.
Well, it's an idea. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a solution to this problem.
Well, and of course, the big solution is that we sequester the funds like we've been talking about and actually do it.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we're gonna have an ordinance where
Oh, yeah,
we create
and-
the count, you know.
Yeah, and that's on the agenda for this week.
Deb can tell you, during the 4 years I was on the budget committee and her many years, this was talked about multiple times.
Well, we're gonna do it this time.
And we're gonna do it, that's good, I'm glad.
And have a revolving account.
Correct. But it is on the agenda for this Monday.
Good.
So, a couple of things about the locker rooms. They've been non-functional for many decades, not just this year. So, we talked about this last year. We wanted to approve this last year, but the bathrooms we felt were more priority. So we went with the bathrooms, and that project is going along very well. Talked about the locker rooms, and we've been approved for those with RIDE.
Correct.
So it really makes sense for us to look at these, because we get this great reimbursement to go into that account, and it just keeps funding, and maybe not to the extent that we need, but it funds it a little bit, just to kind of help with the shortfalls if there are any. One of the things about the locker room, the quote that we were given, because the first one was with the first firm, and then the second firm came in with a higher quote, and we did question them at that meeting, but they did not have an itemized list to go by. They came in totally eyes open to give a new quote. So whether it be materials or, you know, whatever differences they saw, we don't really know what the difference is, but obviously prices have gone up on supplies and materials, but they're also looking at it differently, and maybe they foresee more plumbing issues or more other issues in this old building. So,
Yeah, I have to say, you know, certainly in retrospect, the 1.20, you know, again, in retrospect, I think it probably was too low. Probably the increase, you could also say, you know, at least 20%, that's inflation in building supplies, construction, all that other stuff. And I guess the silver lining is we're not Newport looking for $20 million that they have in their shortfall for their construction, so.
right. We also did talk about the security upgrades, and if you can remember, there's been a lot of money spent over the last few years in security, changing doors and whatnot, at all of the schools. So I would be comfortable prioritizing, you know, as long as the committee is, the locker rooms. Not saying security's not important, but I think that we're secure at this point.
Well, that's why I asked that question, just to make sure that everybody knows that in the community. This is just upgrading. This doesn't mean we have a problem.
Not at all.
Correct.
John,
My turn.
Awesome.
I'll go this way next time.
There you go. So, just because I don't see it in here, as far as backup, all I really have is just this short list. Would you be able to provide us with an updated CapEx plan? I know a couple of years ago, we got that when we were on the budget committee. It would be good to see what
Yeah,
that
it's-
capital expenditure
It's
plan
a
looks
public
like.
document. I mean, there's a 5-year plan that we have to submit to RIDE.
Yep.
There's a kind of a longer-term plan that the architects will do so that if we do proceed with other capital improvements, we can prioritize those. But probably what you're mostly interested in is the 5-year capital
Yep.
expenditures from RIDE. So, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
I think you gave some of us that at one point.
It could.
Yeah, it's for the benefit of
Mike
Dennis and
probably have it
myself.
From the school committee, or the budget committee meetings.
Is it online?
Do not know.
And then also, as far as the bid specs for the locker rooms, whatever was presented, that would be helpful backup also.
So, sorry, say that again?
Just whatever the engineer is giving you guys as far as, hey, here's $1.8 million? I'm sure they just pulled that
Yeah,
out
that's
of
what we're
thin air.
expecting sometime in
Okay.
February, and we would be happy to share it with you. Will be public. It's so the building committee meetings are public. That's probably where it will be presented first, but we'd be happy to send it to you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Anybody else? The only thing else, and I talked to Jay about this today, is there some way we can see what's been expended with the federal funds you received over the COVID? Just a list of the improvements or whatever you did.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have that, because it had to be submitted to RIDE too, right?
Yeah. So none of that would have been capital
No,
because
but I just.
Okay.
see.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure Ms. Roderick can send it to you.
Sure.
Or I could speak a little bit, if you want numbers, I can give you some
No,
numbers off the
I
top of my
think we
head.
just.
You just
I
want the
think we
documentation?
just wanted to see all of it.
All right.
To make educated decisions, I feel we need to see the whole picture. So that's why I just kind of want a broad spectrum of what money's been spent.
Okay.
Anyone else? Chris, do you have anything to ask? No? Yes? Okay.
I have one more question.
Yes, go ahead.
As it relates
Long
to,
pause.
Yeah.
as it relates to the building committee, apart from the hired guns, like the RGB or whoever the new architect is there anybody else with construction experience that sits on that committee?
Yeah, so we have an architect. So Sue Zimick has very graciously been actually on both building committees. She's an architect. Mike Janik has experience both on the budget committee as well as in facilities. Brendan Aldrade works in the building trades, so
Okay.
you want to join?
I don't have
Wait,
construction
no, because
experience.
I think we'll have a quorum.
Yeah.
No, you'd have 3.
Oh, all right.
No, you're still on, right?
I'm still
Oh,
on the technical.
okay.
because
All right.
You've
Well,
confused
then
me.
all you need to do is post, but.
You've confused me with my father. He's the one that builds big buildings.
Oh, that's actually, I thought about that. Would he like to join?
I will not speak on his behalf.
All right, well,
I think
We'll
he's a
send him an
little busy
invitation.
right now, but he may be later.
He's already on the library board.
Yeah, he's on the library
I
board.
forgot that's what he did with his living. I thought it was just.
All right, well, thank you. Like
Leader in the
I
state.
said, we're gonna listen to everyone, may make some decisions.
Okay.
I have to tell you, I'd be hesitant to make any decision on this until we see the engineering specs and we get some idea. Because
Okay.
if they come in, I don't think they will, but if they come in 2.5, then we're in trouble. So let's see what they come in.
Okay. And can I just allow my committee members to speak if
Sure.
they choose to? Elaine, Diane, anything?
Hi, Diane.
Hey, everybody. Denise, I do want to thank you for just calling out the need for us to take a look at the bid specs, because at this point, as a school committee member, I am completely uncomfortable with asking for 1.9 million, because we just haven't seen the backup to that yet. So I'm glad and I'm hopeful that you're willing to work with us as we receive that information and understand really what the reason was for that increase between the first estimate and the second. It wasn't 20%, it was well beyond that.
That's
And we
okay.
all need to come to a really solid understanding of what it is we will be paying for.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you want to close your meeting, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn in case. Second? All in favor? Okay, so we're adjourned and I guess we could reopen.
All right, so we've been through every department at once anyway. And the department heads gave us some priorities, but I think the public needs to know that grants were received. And with the good work of the police chief, some of these requests have already been paid for. So, we have a new fire chief now, and I think that he needs to give us his opinion also. So I'm gonna ask the fire chief to come up. Hello. So on the original list, the rescue computers were paid 4 by,
So we have, there are a number of different grants that we've received. We have a medical services grant that will take care of the rescue computers and some other related, that aren't even on the capital list, about modernizing the technology to speak with hospitals, doctors, and the ambulance crew as it relates to medical emergencies. That will be completely modernized by the time they're done with that. But those original requests for computers in those vehicles will be taken care of in that grant. So there's no
and
need.
Draw of Life also.
The Jaws of Life was,
It's a whole nother
the chief
grant.
was here a week or so ago, and his staff had done a pretty good job of putting together a grant with traffic safety.
National Highway, yep, exactly.
So- And they funded the Jaws of Life, so there's no need to go through that at the moment. I will say that, everything else that the chief put in, whether it was Chief Bailey or the predecessors that have been through this, when we were before the council dealing with the FY '21 gaming monies, the council preserved $35,000 to deal with the radio call boxes. At that time, I didn't realize that there's a duplicate system that is required for that. So it's really a $77,000 expenditure, and that quote is only good till the
They're
end of the
holding
month.
that quote until the end of the month, and then they can't really give us an estimate of the increase. It could be as much as 15%.
So that's why there's a differential of $42,000. You've already preserved $35,000 to deal with that.
Yeah, I
End
wrote-
of January, I'm sorry, end of January?
January 31st, they're
Yeah,
holding
I wrote
that.
myself a little note, so I knew that
Okay.
at some point. And I do want to talk about ambulances. We talk about
Sure.
ambulances at least
We'll
once a year.
we'll definitely get to that.
Okay, you want to wait?
Well, I was going to go through the list as it was presented. I wasn't sure if these were the priority list that either Craig or,
Priorities that I got was hose replacement
okay,
and replace fire gear. That's what the acting chief said.
okay.
And the sliding station gable ends, that was less of a priority.
Yep.
But it was up there.
Okay.
So those are the 3 that I wrote.
Okay,
The air compressor, the Bauer system that refills our Scott air bottles after fires is a huge priority. It's
Yeah, and I was
it's-
wondering
it's
why-
out of- I don't know that. It's, to me, we're going to be one of the things at the top. It's out of its serviceable life. Currently, they're holding the price at $83,000 for us to the end of the month. On February 1st, that goes to $91,935.
Well, I started with what the chiefs told me, and those were the 3 I started. I'm not sure why I didn't start everything.
Yeah, I remember
We
us
talked
discussing
about
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, this has been on various agendas since
Yeah.
2017, 16?
so, and the ambulance, just, because I know you want to get there, is, we did order an ambulance
Right.
with the CARES money, $260,000. We could not get a guarantee when we signed on to that. They wouldn't even give us any kind of legal purchase order for it. It was a word of mouth. That piece of apparatus has been sent back to the factory with all the deficiencies of chip manufacturer issues. We're not going to get that ambulance. It's not coming.
But the money is there.
The money, the $260,000 is there. The issue is, the ambulances are far more money than what we were quoted. That we could have bought that ambulance at that time for $260,000, but they're well $350,000 or more now.
I looked at a demo rescue a couple of weeks ago, and it's about $350,000.
So, but you have
But you
260,
have
so the net
260.
is. The net would be, correct. 90.
But that was a used one or a new one?
No, it's a new one,
new one.
but that one's already spoken for, and just to speak to the situation with buying apparatus as it is right now in its current state, the distributor said that they're promising departments 31 months, hoping to be under that. Fire apparatus engines are about 2 years, 18 months to 2 years from when you sign to purchase them. That's the state of apparatus now in this country.
So, while not a topic for tonight, it is something that we need to speak to our solicitor about the order that we did have in, because I do think the town has been harmed by inaction on behalf of the vendor. But we're not going to get that ambulance, it's just not coming.
So we're going to have to consider doing what we did with the ladder truck, giving
It's
somebody
if you can find them.
the authority to leap as soon as one's available.
Well, yeah, once we approve it, they can leave it as much as they want. Yeah, I agree with that. But that number is actually 90,000.
Right now it would be, with the 260 and 90.
Okay. 'Cause when
I haven't got an official price back. They were pricing it out, so I would just say it's going to be in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
There was a few extra things we were looking for, like a vault to lock up medications rather than a loose lockbox.
Yeah.
Something a little more secure. So it was a few additional things that were being priced in there. We were just asking because they were pricing it out. Supposedly they're going to come back with a price real soon.
We can always add to that
Okay.
if we need to. Once you get a real price.
But you're right, the gear, the hose, those are real priority
Yeah,
issues.
and I don't know why I didn't put us down here, air breathing compressors, but Mike's right, we talked about that.
We have, yeah. But we also spent a lot of money in the fire department last year, you know, and not begrudging, I mean, we do have a lot of capital needs. And it was well-serviced what we purchased. I mean, it's served the town very well, so.
Well, I think the air breathing compressor system,
That's,
we really need that.
And we're going to lose the pricing. That's the thing that
Well, we're gonna
is
lose
worrisome.
firemen if we don't do it.
Well,
so
right.
I mean,
And
it's a
if-
safety thing. And then the hose replacement. Okay,
In the call box.
yeah. All right, John, do you have any questions on fire? Deb?
how often do we replace the fire gear? That's not annual?
10 years.
It's 10
is
years?
When it exceeds its serviceable life.
We didn't replace that this past year then?
So Chief Ramos did quite a bit of it, and they put on schedule those that he knew were gonna have to be done. But
Okay.
we've also had some replacement issues with new staff. Not that we can utilize some of the equipment that they had, but a lot of the stuff was still coming onto its 10 years, which is why we put in for 6
Okay,
Also,
sets.
the cost of the gear exploded during COVID. 20%
Of course it
increases
did.
was not
Everything did.
uncommon.
Of course
it did.
So what we could get before, $24,000, which would have been 6 sets, is now 5 sets. It's slightly over $5,000 per set now.
and how often do we do the air breathing compressor system?
Well,
Because
that's just for refilling. So
That's just
when we
refilling.
fight a fire and our air bottles are empty, we go back to the station and we have to have a way to refill the bottles so that they're full for the next fire event.
I'm gonna say that system is probably 30 to 35 years old.
I remember there being an issue with us
Yeah.
not
It's-
being able to reuse them or
Yeah,
Well, no,
you go
the
to Portsmouth now, right?
the bottles.
You go to Portsmouth
No,
now?
we're still using it,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's just,
was
it's
the
beyond really
bottles,
its serviceable
remember?
life.
Is that what it
And
was, the bottles?
something that out of capital, we
I
could
remember that,
have another lifespan with it.
Think about that.
yeah.
Yeah, the
I
bottles
do.
were a huge issue at one point, but we've
Right.
tended to fix that, I hope.
So why are we having so much trouble with the vehicles? Is it all because of the chips?
It's not exactly all because of the chips. So the rescue that we're talking about that was entered into the purchase and sales agreement, because it was a Dodge chassis, right at that same time, there was a national recall. It was over the lug nuts and studs, and that wheels could come off. So it just kind of, it collided at the same time. I have actually the copy of the recall in my notes right here.
Of course it was.
So that happened. So when I reached out to the salesperson, it's all about recalls, issues with chips, supply chain, and he cannot guarantee a delivery date. And as the town administrator stated, there was none listed in the agreement because they couldn't provide one at that point.
And I think everyone can understand, because trying just to buy a
Right,
car,
exactly.
you have to go
It's-
on a list.
And these are more complicated, so
Right.
it's,
So if we were to say today, we were going to buy this rescue, and we sign a agreement, and we get that price, but we can't have that filled for years.
Right.
What do we do in the interim? Because we're buying it because we need vehicles.
so our options are limited. It would be looking at used vehicles or being able to move fast when they have an actual demo vehicle that comes in, that they're taking around. So the one I looked at the other day was already spoken for by another fire department that was able to basically react, you know, in a moment's notice, that they didn't have to go through a procedure to get it. So anything that we want to have customized to specs, the dealership, the salesperson was telling me, he's telling people 31 months. He says it's usually under that, but just, he doesn't want to overpromise at this point.
So the vendors right now that we're using or utilizing, and most of the, in this region,
throughout the Northeast are already master price agreement vendors. So everything that they have is already on a master price. So you don't, there's no bid requirement
So
for
we
it.
can just jump
So
on it.
you can just jump on it. But the
I'm
issue is
just-
you have to have the cash.
I'm just thinking about some years ago when we were so in need and we had them breaking down and we were driving, our guys were in like little Compton, Warren vehicles, and we don't want to be there.
No.
And I know that the
This is a
numbers,
concern.
the numbers of runs are escalating every year, so
Well-
those vehicles are out on the road more and more.
You know, just to kind of speak to that point, our Rescue 1 has 134,000 miles on it as of the 1/11, and our Rescue 2 has 81,178 miles. And just to toss this in, our Engine 1, which is on East Road, which is a 2011, has 185,903. So we do have some vehicles with some significant wear and miles.
Well, this is a concern. Not that the breathing, you know.
No,
Air
no, you're
breathing,
right.
that's important too.
Right. Very important.
Jay?
Well, I got a question for Chris. So the air conditioning mini splits,
So-
would be a zero?
I put them at 0 because my understanding is that we did the North Station, and I believe the other 2 stations already have some HVAC systems in them. It was not a priority to me compared to some of the other issues that you're going to be wrestling with.
Well, the only reason I ask is on the new one, the new list,
You didn't put it as a zero.
it's 10,000.
Oh, I didn't take it out?
Yeah.
No. I was set on my butt.
And not that we're gonna do it, but the siding, the station siding, for some reason I have scribbled in my notes, 27,000.
I don't have that.
The reason, I don't remember why. I didn't explain it to myself.
That may have gone back to redoing the entire sidings,
Maybe.
but I think all we're looking at doing is the triangle on the peak ends.
But,
So we've extracted sort of $35,000 out of the August rendition of this.
but if I'm looking at siding as opposed to fire gear and
Oh, no,
breathing,
no, I just,
okay.
No,
keep in
and-
mind what I said, not that we're gonna do it.
Okay.
So.
No, because I've already added up some of this, if you add up Vision 21, air breathing, hose replacement, replace fire gear, and the rescue replacement, you're already up to 254,000.
I only zeroed out the items I knew we had already paid for, that we've already
No, no, no.
acquired.
So those that we
Right.
just talked about is up to 254, just to let you all know that.
Okay.
Well, just so everybody knows what I'm thinking, my priorities are the fire gear, hose replacement, air breathing, rescue computers.
Yeah, it's what I just read.
Not necessarily enough.
But that would be your priorities too, am I correct? What
They-
we just said,
The air breathing, the gear, the hose,
the fire, and the rescue replacement. to
the rescue
add 90,000
replacement,
to that.
and the Vision 21.
Which are on
Yes,
grant.
the Vision 21,
But yeah, basically those are the priorities.
okay. And, I did Jay, Mike?
One clarifying, so on the Vision 21, the ask is 42,000. Additional
It's
47.
77, but you already have 35 set aside.
Yeah, okay. And Chief, you had also said with the rescue replacement, 350 is ballpark total?
Ballpark. I think because we asked for a few additional items when we were discussing with the salesperson, it's going to be slightly higher.
Okay, so.
I can't tell you exactly what. And they also looked at, didn't include like lettering, striping. We sent pictures of our current rescue.
Wow. So if we rounded that to 100, if we rounded that to 100, that'll be a little bit of a
I
cushion
was gonna
anyway.
round it to 120,
120, okay.
and then whatever you
Right.
don't spend comes
Right.
Sure,
back.
absolutely.
And then lastly, and Chris, this is just clarification, your header here is Department of Capital requests from gaming, and we're also dealing with ARPA, so you're looking at
So
both?
this was just gaming. Opera, you're going to find that there's basically going to be one single request.
Okay.
Closing that landfill is going to eat up the balance of it.
All right, so if you don't do the 90 and put the 120, that request with the priorities will come out to 284.
285-256.
Wait, okay. You did, all right. I did it really quick in my head, so thank you.
I got you.
I did pretty good, though.
This is all ballpark right now.
Yeah,
What was the number, John?
285-256.
really
57
good. I
cents.
thought I was pretty close.
I just took the 555-256 and subtracted off the
Yeah,
260 and the 10.
okay. All right, so, all right. We're good? Do you have anything to add?
Do not.
So I will, there is one other item, and I know yet that we're not going to entertain it tonight, but fairness to the chief, he has been looking at his pumpers, and I know that we've replaced the ladder as a pumper as well. But I don't want to bypass that. He should at least give you,
Can I have a couple
from
minutes
his
on that?
view, where he stands, so that,
Thank
you
you.
know, as it gets revisited next year, or wherever it
I
gets
just didn't
revisited.
ask you because it's a 0, so I wasn't sure.
Because I wasn't recommending,
Oh, okay.
but he definitely has been asking me, so.
A little bit.
Go ahead.
So, you know, coming in as an outside chief, I was trying to take a strong look at all the different aspects of the fire department. And I know, like, the ladder truck that's on Main Road is in good shape. It's a new truck. But when I started looking at the other two engines that are frontline, engine one is a 2011. So here we are in 2023, and it's going to be 2 years, basically, 18 months, 2 years, depending on what manufacturer you go with. It has 185,903 on it. Engine 3, which is the engine that's on Crandall Road, has got 73,731, so, and that's a 2013. So that has some serviceable life left in it, but engine 1 at basically 186,000 miles is getting up there, and then our reserve engine's a 2002. So given the fact that we're not going to see probably an engine or pumper for about, you know, a year and a half to 2 years, that I wanted to at least find out how much money they cost, which it's a lot. So I met with two manufacturer distributors, and they're working on coming up with a definite price, because I didn't even know what to ask for. I don't want to come here and ask for too little, and then have to come back and ask for more money, so I wanted to get a solid price. They're both working up pricing for us, and I wanted that to be maybe a jumping off point that for down the road, that given the time delay to get these pieces of apparatus, that we don't want to end up in a situation where we don't have, you know, frontline apparatus and be borrowing from other departments, because they're all in the same position. A neighboring community went under contract in September of 2021. They still have not received their engine, and for the price they signed for, which was about $600,000, you can't even touch that engine for $600,000.
Now, we're still paying payments on one of them, right?
Oh, yeah, we're paying payments on
10 years
the ladder, it's 10-year
Just the
payment.
ladder though, right? Are we doing payments on, I think the ambulances are done.
We're doing payments on ladder and the ladder.
It's the ladder. No, I'm just curious on what we are doing payments on.
I think we finished the ambulance last year, this past year, not this year, last year.
Yeah, it was last year. What I do have to bring up too is we still have that capital reserve account.
We do.
And I checked with the treasurer today, and there's 250,000 in there also. And last year, that,
We actually tapped into that to buy the police cars, because we ultimately found out we didn't have enough county
Right.
money to do what we
Right.
did, so.
so we still have that over there too for future use. And maybe to think about
Yep.
going out and borrowing for this, but give
No, I agree,
a
but
big jump.
I thought it was unfair not to let the
Oh, yeah.
chief
Oh,
speak
no, no,
about.
I wasn't ignoring you, but the
No.
town, he put 0 there. So-
And honestly, without a more definitive price, I was hoping to have that information by tonight, but everything takes,
Yeah, so just, just when you do get a definitive price, give it to Chris.
I will.
And then we'll work on that in the
Absolutely.
very near future. I'd
Thank you.
imagine.
Madam President,
Yes.
so, question for the chief. I'm assuming your goal is to follow the NFPA standards for apparatus replacement? Is that what we're trying to get towards?
We would like to get there.
Okay.
We're
It's
nowhere near there.
10 years frontline and 10 years reserve, but, you know, it would be a great goal. The trucks get inspected, they are pump tested annually, ladders are annually tested, so the trucks are still, you know, serviceable. We will run a, reserve engine with quite a few years at times when other trucks need service, so. But yeah, I'd like to see a more consistent replacement plan so that, we don't fall too far behind given the delays on getting apparatus.
Makes total sense to me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that was part of the thought also, John, when we did this casino money thing, was that we could try to get back into buying police cars when we should, and ambulances when we should, and without putting too much of a burden on the town.
The police car is the one thing we've been good at all these
Oh,
years.
well, that's because of the chief.
grants.
I think we cost too
Grant
much.
King.
Yeah, he doesn't know I'm talking about him right now.
Oh, he does.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good
Appreciate
job.
your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now,
Chief Jones, you're on. Who are you talking to?
Denise.
Oh. It looked like you were talking to yourself.
Not yet.
Does that too?
Yeah, he does that too. So,
Good evening.
I want people to know because of your grant expertise, I'm not being cocky, I'm giving you
Thank you.
credit for this. I don't think the public knows how much grants you bring in. We say it, but we just need to say it again.
And not just for the police department.
No, and we're gonna get into that when we
This time it was
go over the,
DPW.
when we go over the DPW, we'll see, what your grant work did also. So, the patrol vehicles zeroed out now. The mobile data terminals zeroed out now.
Correct.
By grants. And then,
Just purchase body armor?
yeah, the priorities I think you gave us was patrol, mobile, and body armor.
Right, so what we were able to do with obviously the mobile data terminals, which are the computers that go into the cars, we were able to use JAG burn money. That pretty much exhausted the need to purchase any of them, so we're good right now with the MDTs, which was, the administrator and I were able to take that off the table. And then obviously with the radios, the mobiles and the portables, we were able to use the American Recovery, and that was supplemented with all the grant money that we were able to obtain as well. So that took that off. So the priorities are clearly the body armor for your police officers.
Which we did get a grant.
We did. So of that,
You have to pay 50.
it's 50%, correct. So we did get about $15,000 in grant money. But this will give every single one of your police officers, even the ones that are going to the academy, and the ones that we haven't hired yet, body armor as soon as they get out. So that's the total
It's really
price.
good.
So it's about $40,000. I believe the invoice should be in your backup. So that 26,143 is the town share.
Yep. Okay.
And then going down the list, so the next thing I would probably say would be the live scan fingerprint machine. The administrator and I have been talking with, and he has got a great contact from his days at the Attorney General's office. The live scan machine is basically the electronic fingerprint machine. It's used from everything from people that we arrest and that we book to people that want to adopt a child or for a background check. The machine that is currently in use was purchased about 25 years ago. It still runs Windows XP. Exactly. So we're keeping it together with prayer. When it dies,
believe we admit
yeah,
these things.
when it, I believe Little Compton lost theirs, and I say that there's another community that lost theirs, and there are several police departments that still have them in use. It's just trying to get them. So the options are two. To purchase the machine, we're looking at about $21,000 to $25,000, but that only comes with a limited warranty. To lease the machine, we could lease it for 6 years at $600 a month for 6 years.
$42,000.
Right. So that pretty much doubles the price.
Okay.
But we lease the machine, anything goes wrong with it, they own it, they replace it, and then at the end of the lease, we get a brand new machine. That is also something that I have tentatively put inside the budget. So it would cost approximately $7,600 to $7,800 a year as a line item for a lease like we do with the copy machines. So if we wanted to outright purchase it, we'd own it with a limited warranty. Or,
We would have to add a service contract to it to keep it up to date.
correct.
That will be expensive as well.
That's where they get you.
7,800 comes?
That's kind of why it goes up.
Okay, so,
Or we can absorb it, we can absorb it in the police operating budget, sign the lease. Those are your options.
Well, if we're gonna do that, I'd rather just really
So what
budget
it-
it, instead of say we can absorb it.
so what is the bottom line?
Of the 21,000,
No, of leasing it?
43,000.
Okay.
But that's over 6 years.
For
Correct.
6 years.
Yeah,
Correct.
but we just put that aside and that's what's gonna pay for it.
We could do that, or we could,
Put it in his budget
Yep.
to pay for it.
Correct.
Out of capital, because it is a capital, right?
It is.
That sounds right to you. I think it sounds right to me. Because we're allocating capital, but it's be in his budget because of payments.
Any grants available for that one, Chief?
Yeah, can't you find me a grant for that one?
So the grand total price for the 72-month lease is
takes me very well.
43,200.
Didn't you listen to me? You can't find me a grant for that?
I'm
we're
always
working on it. We're already working on it.
Polite.
No, he knows I'm kidding.
No, you're not.
And that,
And neither is he.
that's not inclusive of the maintenance?
That is.
That is inclusive of it, yeah.
Oh, that's the full nut?
That's it?
That is. And they will accept it any way we'd like to do it. What I mean by that is if you wanted to pay $20,000 of the 72-month lease, they'll take that. So they'll take it however we want to do it.
We can just give him the whole 43.
You can give them the whole 43 too. We can pay $600 a
No, I
month.
wouldn't do that, because time is money.
So we can do it any way you want. Those are the options for that.
Split it over.
2 or 3 years.
So at the end of the term, they give you a new machine.
That is correct.
So you either buy it or lease it again.
Correct.
Okay.
So they're cracking down, quite frankly, because there's a lot of communities that they are not FBI compliant anymore. And even the FBI has now been caught with, they can't continue to run these things anymore. They just have huge security protocols on them that can't be fixed with XP.
Good question. How will this affect accreditation?
We are not FBI compliant. So as the administrator just said, we
That's all
are
I've
not
heard.
FBI. So
It would be a
technically, because of the state of the machine, we wouldn't be able to submit fingerprints at any level. So if you wanted to come in for a background check, an adoption, DCYF, or we'd be back to rolling ink fingerprints and sending them via the mail.
Well, you'd be going to Cranston to see the
All I was
Attorney
gonna
General.
say is if it affects the accreditation,
Yeah.
and we're saving a ton of money because we are, you need to do it.
And the concrete slab, do you find that a priority?
I would probably, and I'll let the administrator speak to the concrete slab, but the lockers, if I could, just for a couple moments. I broke it down into 3 categories. To Councilor Edwards' point, the weapons locker, your number, I just got the updated quote from the sales rep. It says 3,920, it's actually 4,380.
Everything,
Went up, unfortunately. So the new number is 4380. The weapons locker is a locker that we would put, and that is an accreditation standard. That is a weapons locker that goes inside our evidence room. So it is a locker inside of a locked room.
keep talking, I'm just getting
Yeah,
water.
absolutely, ma'am. So that one is a necessity that you should strongly consider. The other 2 lockers are broken up into our male and female locker rooms. I know most of you have been on the tour of the police department. The current lockers that we utilize are lockers that were thrown away. Officers provide their own locks. They are not secure. They use them to hang and put their weapons in. So quite often, there are, and you know the layout of the police department, the locker room is adjacent to the utility room or the boiler room. So we have and that also houses all the telephone relays. So we have to escort people in there through the locker room because the lockers don't close or lock unless they have a lock that's provided to them by the police department or by the officer, and there's weapons inside those lockers. So what we're proposing is actual lockers that are built for officers that are secure. They'd also come with a master key. So the other issue that we're dealing with as well is of the officers that do provide locks, they are their locks. So if, from an administrative standpoint, if I wanted to search an officer's locker for any reason, that would be an issue because there's an expectation of privacy because they're providing their own lock. So with these lockers, they're specifically built for the purpose of an administrative search if necessary. There'd be a master key that we would have and then the officer would have, and it would be incorporated as part of policy. That also goes into the female lockers as well. If there's anything worse than what we have with the male lockers, the female lockers are basically in a lunchroom with a toilet. So with our 3 female sworn police officers and our female professional staff, they take turns if someone is using the facilities to wait to come on duty because someone else is using the facilities and they can't walk into the room because the toilet is in the center of the locker room. So the lockers would provide the same level of security that you're giving your male officers, and because we need fewer, because we have fewer female officers at this time, that is why the number is less. And if I may just update those numbers, because they went up as well. The male lockers are 58,100. The female lockers are 13,295.
It's not that bad then.
It was actually with the male and female lockers, it was shipping was what went up.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
All right,
So as far as the building, we're going to grab the building one way or another. We'll hold it. We'll find the money to do the rest of it.
Oh, okay, I get it. The concrete slab, we're gonna get the building.
We'll get the building first. Right now, we don't have the
Where is
building.
the building? I forgot about
It's on
this.
Brighton Road.
Okay.
Rhode Island Energy's going to wind up helping us get it, so.
Okay, so
It can be dismantled piece by piece.
we
So-
are aware that there are new regulations coming down the pike, if not already adopted, about housing animals.
So that's a whole nother protocol we'll have to go through, but yeah, but we'll also be saving 35,000 a year.
Yeah, so we can think about this slab and maybe
No,
that
but,
could be the future
it
use
would be.
of the reserve capital that we.
or we find another grant.
There's gotta be some animal lovers grants.
We're working something else.
We'll make it work. Either way, we're gonna grab that building. So, and our wish list is to ultimately, and it's on here, and I don't know if there's anywhere near enough money, but at some point, we have to start looking at a public safety complex.
Yep.
So whether or not you fund it this year, or, it's gotta be on a list so that we can't, somewhere down the road, we gotta have to do something, because I would invite you all, and I know many of you've been there, to go through that station and see what kind of nightmare it is. It was built for 12 police officers. We have 56 to 60 people walking through it every day. He's crammed female officers that was never even considered years ago into areas of that building. It's a nightmare. But, it's, again, we're not looking to build anything next year, but at some point, we do have to do some sort of study for both accreditation purposes, for health and public safety issues, and a number of other things, but we've totally outgrown this for a police station.
And what I would recommend is at some point, the council consider actually putting together a group to involve community members, yourself,
Like a building.
the administrator, the chiefs, so we can actually have a real conversation about what the needs of the community are, what the needs of public safety are. Because I know, in speaking just briefly with the fire chief and the administrator, we want to incorporate not just, having a police department and a fire department, but a community element to this as well. And there are tons of grant money out there, and I know it came up during COVID for if we were to have a flu clinic or a place that we could have a flu clinic inside of our public safety complex, we could get a lot of money, or at least a percentage of the money paid for. To have a
East
community
Providence
space.
built a community center.
Yeah, to have a community space for mental health issues impacting the community with our relationship with Newport County Mental Health, that pumps more funding to fund the overall project, or at least offset the costs.
All right, any questions, Dennis?
No.
Mike?
Just on your last piece, would you like to work with the administrator to put an agenda item before us in the near future about such a committee?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jay?
Nothing other than to say, we can leverage grants.
I got them all doing it now.
Well, we've got more grants in the last 2 or 3 years than we've ever had in this community.
Oh, yes,
No,
and
we leverage them.
we
Put 'em to
do,
work.
we do realize the work.
Money's
but
there,
we
so-
just,
I
okay.
appreciate it. I don't want to say it publicly yet, but the administrator knows, and we're always trying to
Angles.
Yeah, I
We've won-
don't
we've
like,
won many,
just
we've
given
won-
what I do, I don't like the word angles. So, but trying to look at available opportunities for the town, the whole town.
You're absolutely, I looked up when they said angles. Yeah. All right,
I'm next.
yeah, Deb.
So the lockers,
Yes, ma'am.
where are they going to go? Because there's not a whole lot of room.
So the company that we're using is a state master price agreement company. So they came in and they actually measured our current locker rooms, and they're going to fit the lockers in based on our current space. So they measured it, they're guaranteeing it. There's a contract that goes with it. I have diagrams, so it'll work in the space that we have with the number of officers that we have at this time. And they're portable as well.
So the female locker rooms, less money, fewer female officers.
Yep.
Is there room for growth, though?
Maybe a little.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that this proposal right now, with these lockers, we could take them with us. There's life in these lockers, but we'd probably need more if we were to go to another facility. So for the female lockers, it will serve our current staff of female employees.
But what if we're still in this building and
We have more female
we get
officers.
more female
And we are
officers?
getting
We'll need more lockers. And
So
that's
should
what,
can we increase this now?
But is there room for it?
Is there room for it?
Yeah, I would probably.
I'm trying to see how
Now,
many.
now, if
quoted
you
up.
needed more lockers, we could always buy them when.
Correct.
Right, but do we have the space? If they're configured for the space we have now, are they maximizing that space?
So this quote and this number is 27 male lockers, 6 female lockers. So we have three sworn female officers, and then the other professional staff would share the other 3.
So that maxes us out
Correct.
for female.
Well, what I'd like to do too, and I know we're talking about the dispatch project and looking at doing some renovations in dispatch, the other majority of our female professional staff employees work dispatch. So what I'd like to do, and they don't need a full-size secure locker because they don't have weapons, they don't have
Right.
firearms. Having maybe a little, almost like a mini gym locker in the dispatch area so they can just secure,
Just
their
their
personal
personal stuff,
belongings.
right.
Correct.
Okay, so there's opportunities
There is
to grow.
growth for
I
this.
just don't want to say we can't have more female officers because we
never
don't
say
have
that.
lockers.
We'll never say that. We'll never say that.
Eventually, we could flip it.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
could flip it, yes, we could.
Yeah,
So on the fingerprint equipment,
Yes, ma'am.
so right now, healthcare professionals, new grads, have to go to the Attorney General to get fingerprinted, to get licensed.
The machine works as we speak, so they can come in.
That's because it's state law. You have to do it because of state law.
You have to
There
go
are
to the
certain
Attorney General.
categories.
Certain categories can only be done by the
So you
Attorney General.
can't do them then?
No, we do them. We do. So,
Certain categories of healthcare, not all. There are certain ones that were specified only by the Attorney General.
I just know some of
Part of the
the,
reason for that was because of the cost to cities and towns. So the Attorney General ate that.
That's it.
okay.
that's why.
Yeah, I believe that
don't you have a finger?
there's a financial
I have a
component to
finger.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Like,
I
I
know
get into a
so
lot
for
of things
anything
with just
that's,
my
it's
finger
$40.
I think
Which
foster
you
care,
can access.
they are,
We do most of our
That's, yeah,
foster
that's your
care.
facility.
No, but I've been
Yeah, 'cause
fingerprinted for my life.
we still do them too. We do. But
there
that's what,
is some healthcare ones too, I forget which ones.
we
they
do
are.
healthcare
my
too. We
kids
just
have
charge them.
Yeah, I forget which ones they are. There's, and I don't remember.
The only
what.
one that we don't do is the marijuana licensing. Then you gotta go to Cranston. So, but anything, adoptive parents, DCYF, foster care, they can still come to us, because I know that because we sign the forms. They're charged. Then there are some that are,
There are some that are not charged.
right, and there are some that are waived. But what we do is because we charge them because the Attorney General charges us for the processing, and then they send us a bill, because they send us the bill based on the fingerprint.
Yeah.
So
It
what?
was just a
what I'm
question.
also-
That's not a reason to not get it or get it or.
No, of course
No,
not.
no.
Obviously, we need this, so.
It's used a lot for social services in town, whether it's sporting events, coaching, all that kind of stuff it's a pretty good product set for them to rely on.
Firearms licensing, we do that too, like LTCs,
Federal
license to carry.
licensing, basically anything you need a fingerprint for.
Correct, yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. John, any questions?
Counselor
I'm
Janik's
sorry,
not
Debbie,
complete.
No, I'm done. I'm
Okay, I
done.
thought she was, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure.
I'm done.
All right.
I'm going to add everything up now.
I just did.
177, 918.
No.
Chief, refresh my memory on staffing.
So we'll get to it in a minute.
If you kept the public safety feasibility in there, it's 177, 918.
Oh, I'm not, okay.
Refresh my memory on staffing. Any part-timers?
Yes.
How many?
So we have 3 special officers, we have about 8 reserve officers, then we have, so all total, 33 sworn, about 12 professional staff. We're probably about over 60 employees,
Okay, but of that, like how many part-time employees?
about a dozen.
About a dozen? Okay. And the reason why I ask is because I think we can find the $7,800 a year by making some subtle changes to how we operate with employees, looking at something called a FICA alternative plan, Mr. Administrator.
Not for tonight's discussion, but we,
26, one.
there are,
We'll
there
look
are
at that.
options we can look at, but that's also a collective bargaining issue that it's not something I can just mandatorily force.
I get it.
Okay.
But that might be how we come up with our $7,800.
We're always looking at ways to try to save money, so.
43,200.
That was all I had. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, John, what did you get?
If you kept the public safety feasibility study in there, 177, 918.
That's not what I'm getting. So I have 26,143.
Yep.
I have 58,100. 13,290.
295.
295.
Okay, yeah, Mike just corrected me. 4,380.
Right.
4,3,200.
Well, that's for 6 years, though. Are you gonna?
Right, yeah, you're gonna do the whole 6 years.
You are?
Yeah, because suppose another council comes in and says, we don't wanna do it now, we already have the contract.
Well, what does that come to?
You'll have a contract.
So it's going to be
though.
contracted, though.
It will be contracted.
Yeah, but where are you gonna get that money? That's what I was saying, why don't we
It'd be
just take it
budgeted.
out? We just take it out and put it into his budget, the whole amount.
Or we could, although we said in the ordinance that we can't obligate this year's funds until next year, but we could consider half now and half next year. Again, we'd still have to have a separate vote, and it might not work.
It might not work.
It's right there.
That's why I think you should give the whole
We're
amount.
talking about the
Do you need to
21,000?
opt- Do you
43,200.
need to pick the option?
Oh, you wanna
at
pick
the
up
start of the
everything.
contract, or in the middle, is there a prepayment penalty?
No,
If you sign the contract with Thales, is the name of the group that provides the LifeScan machine, it's for 43, and we decide to lease it for the extended warranty and for the 6 years, we are obligated for the $43,200. They'll take payment however we want to pay, but we are obligated for the
The
$43,220
rest.
too.
So we could pay it over 2 years.
You can pay it over 6.
Right, but suppose it doesn't work and we don't obligate it next year, I suppose, you never know.
But we would have signed a lease, so.
just so we're on the same page with the money. If we buy the machine, it's 21,000. If we lease it, it's $7,800 a year
It's 43,200.
over the course of the 72 months, but it's $7,800 a year. But, so that's when we add the 21,000. If we're gonna buy the unit, you're gonna buy it for 21,000.
But just, you're
But
missing
we
a
don't
piece.
want to buy.
You buy it for 21,000, whatever the number is, but you still have to put a maintenance contract on it.
And there
That's
are-
the piece you don't have.
And there are monthly costs associated with running the machine. They waive the costs if you buy it for the $43,200. So we can buy the physical machine, and we have the physical machine, but it's our machine. Then to run the machine, we're gonna want a service warranty, and they're gonna want operating costs. So it gets it closer to that $43,200 total cost.
So we're not buying a warranty for 21 grand, we're buying. other
Operating,
stuff.
Buy an
right.
entire package.
With
Correct.
less headache, because if it breaks, they'll replace
Well,
it.
anyway, I put the 43,200 in there if we decide not to.
All right.
So that
That's
becomes
okay.
170.
So what did that come to?
170, 118?
175, 118.
Why, did you put the feasibility in there too?
I did.
I did not do that.
Okay.
without the feasibility, 175,118?
No.
No,
It'd be less.
148,518. So,
Chief, what's the full number again for the machine?
$43,200.
So I have 26, 143, and we all agreed on my numbers except for that one. And then, John, you added the feasibility. But if I don't add that, I guess one,
I know what I did.
You didn't add the concrete slab and the rest of it either?
no.
All right, okay.
So I have 146.
I'm sorry, so we're just pulling stuff off of this list without votes, or how does this work?
26,
No,
143.
this isn't without votes.
This is the priorities.
This is his priority list and what that is going to cost us. This is not voting at all. This is just what that's gonna cost us.
Brainstorming.
To give us some idea of where we're going here.
Okay.
Okay. Because at the end, there will be motions. Yeah, but,
So if you put the 43,000 in, and you keep all of the TA priorities, it's 200,118.
no,
I didn't, I
we
added,
put body armor, like he said, male and female, and the weapon lockers, and fingerprinting. That's what the chief said was
lockers and
his,
the fingerprinting.
his priorities.
I had added the animal shelter slab, sorry.
No,
So
take that out.
without that, I have 145,118.
That's what I have.
That's what I have as well.
Yeah, just in my head. That's
This
somewhere
isn't,
near
this
there.
is just so we have some idea where we're going. And then just keep in mind also, these other things on this list, when we're figuring out the budget, we can always pull that and spend the capital money on that we have in reserve. So I just want to make sure that the department heads get their priorities, or somewhat, because it might come up to too much.
So just so I'm aware of what we're going through the process here, the expectation as we go through the rest of these is that whomever sits in front of us will be pulling things that are not priorities off of this list, and we're just gonna not think about those until a future year?
No,
No.
you're not listening to me. We have a whole nother fund, and this is what we did at the last budget time. We have a whole nother fund. We have $250,000 in capital, in a reserve fund. We cannot afford every single thing that everyone has asked for on this list. So what we are doing is we're pulling the priorities. Then after we do that, we get a number, and if we decide to spend more, then we can go back and pick more stuff. Or at budget time, we can say, you know what, Station 1 really needs a new roof. Let's put that in for the $250,000.
Or, I mean, the other alternative is, let's say I really want the concrete slab. I don't care about
Yeah.
something else. Well, pick the body armor, I do care about body armor.
Understood.
So I make that motion.
If it passes,
If it passes, then we have to look at cutting somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, no, I understand that, I'm just trying to make sure I'm following along here, because we have to have a starting point, and if we're not taking votes, but we're pulling items off, I just wanna make sure I'm recording what the process is, what we're doing, because we need to have a starting point, like we almost need a second column, or a third column, and
Well, that's kinda
have
why
what
there
that
was a
is.
column on the end that says
Yeah,
council approved.
right. So what we're doing,
But we're not to that column
No,
yet.
you're not there.
no, but
But
what,
what I
This
do
is
is I
like
put
first
down everything
blush.
that they wanted and what I thought was a priority.
Well,
So
with this
everything that they
helps.
wanted, everything I thought was a priority, but at the end of the day, there's only so much money.
I think it's important, because we can't afford everything, that the chiefs tell us what is the most important. Now, after all of that, you can make a motion right after that and say, I want the public safety complex. We all, okay? We all vote, or it goes down, but we know that that's not one of his priorities. That's what I'm doing,
Okay.
so that we have
Now, so
some-
now I'm clear. So if we were to sum up whatever the itemized list, with the modifications for the TA priorities, the total for that line for the police department is $200,118. But we're
that's not-
what the chief says are his absolute bare bones priorities is,
That's what we're doing right now.
That's what we're doing right
We're
now.
doing that.
145, 118.
145.18.
So we all recognize there's only a certain number of, dollars that's available.
I mean, quite frankly,
And part of this
I mean, there was
process,
$7 million
John, is-
in requests, and there's only $3 million.
quite frankly, if you take the fire chief's priorities and the police chief's priorities, I already have 430,013. So, I mean, we're already almost 500,000.
So part of this is, we get his priority, the
No,
department heads.
again, I understand. I'm just saying that that was,
And yours.
that was not, as we sat down here to do this, that was not clear that that's what we were,
Well,
that we
I'm
were
sorry.
trying to narrow the list even further.
Right, but it was clear that because you're new to the process, we already had this once before, which we explained it. I apologize, John, that you didn't understand it.
This is just looking at
This is
the
just-
casino money.
I understand what we're doing. I'm just saying with what was put in front of us, we're kind of jumping to the next step, and it wasn't clear that that's what we were doing.
Well, it's
Here.
clear now,
And now it's clear. So I understand. Thank you.
so I'm moving on. Anything else you want to add?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Go Grants.
No pressure.
Well, and just quite frankly, another reason why I would expect us not to use, we don't know what's gonna happen in the future. So you might want, as a council, reserve some monies
Right.
for something that comes up. And I don't know if that's, something you're looking at, but
We'll get there.
all right, but that's the other reason why we're going through this drill.
No, I get it. I just, like I said,
No.
I was under the impression we're looking at the TA priorities, what are we doing there? But apparently we're in this unnamed column, and that's what we're trying to sum up here.
DPW, Rick. Rick, you've got to be happy.
Always happy.
He doesn't have anything on his list anymore.
So,
Do we have a DPW department at this point? Looking at
well,
this?
what happened was, he needed all of this,
Grants.
and so I told Patrick to go get grants, and he actually did. Which I didn't really expect.
Yes.
So, your trucks, your plow, 25-ton trailer,
Skid steer.
skid steer,
So we've since, I
everything is,
think we've since added the generator, because,
where's the generator? It's not-
Tower generator.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I
What
would
did
like
we
to,
call it, knuckle boom?
The sidearm
It's
mower.
the knuckle boom, I wrote knuckle boom.
and Denise, just to comment on what you said, yes, DPW is happy, but it's because, not that we don't want more than other people, it's because we got
Right.
so much last time. And again, that's thanks to Chief, wherever he is, for that money.
We
So
scared him.
so we thank you.
He doesn't
Usually,
want-
you usually
He's
don't do
in-
this well.
He's in the clerk's office finding me another grant, that's what he's doing.
Excellent.
All right, so you want the mower sidearm,
And I would like to give an update on that. I just met with a vendor today, and the estimate is 58,000,
58,
and not 55, yes.
probably shipping.
and the generator is
Yes.
something new you've added.
Right, and that would be, Denise, if we can use an existing one, terrific, but we're gonna have to do a hookup, have to do a power transfer, we'll have to do some kind of, basically some kind of board, or we would have to get a generator to power that, maybe an 8500 or something like that. And again, we'd have to do the circuit board and the automatic relay, et cetera. So 10,000 seems to be a reasonable number.
What's it going to do?
It's going to power the IT that is and will be
The IT
right,
tower.
yes, right next to the DPW south end of it.
Right, you didn't already have one.
All right, so your request is 68,000.
so
Yes.
he's got a couple of other items that are in other accounts, like there's, I believe there's $40,000 in town hall repairs that you'll see. There's some recreational issues, I think at the Fogland and Bayview area that he had put in. He did ask for $25,000 in stormwater drainage issues, which at this point I'm not recommending at the moment, but it's just, we're dealing with stormwater all over town, and it's, we can put $25,000 account, and we can go through as fast as you can blink an eye. I mean, I don't know where we would prioritize at the moment. We have a number of areas around town that we are trying to address, And
Yes.
we've been doing it within budget.
Right, DPW recognizes that we have a lot of needs, but we recognize that, A, a lot of departments with a lot of needs, and there's only so much money to go around. And we understand it's a team effort. I do have a quick question. Is it allocated per line item? In other words, if the mower came in at 58,500, would we be able to take money out of another one to put towards that? Or no, we wouldn't be able to get the mower? Is it a line item?
Oh, I see what you're
Basis.
saying.
We could
Depends on
just
how we vote on it.
Yeah, we could vote to,
Like if you think,
We could
so
make
what
it
do you
more.
think it's gonna be?
I think if we get permission tonight, what they have said is gonna be around 58,000.
But if we give you 60.
I'm not gonna
then-
object, and then it would just go back into the kitty.
Then it just goes back.
So that's
I
technically,
love you.
when we're done with this, there's another issue that we need to address, that we had, last year allocated some monies, our monies did come back. We didn't spend it all.
Right, so-
But then we also bought something that we thought we had a grant for, which was that shed down at Farland. So we need to fund that, and there's actually residual monies that could actually fund that. So, at some point, we have to reconcile these accounts to, it can all go back, but then when we do something that was kind of a mistake, then we should probably find a way to fix it too, but. So we've got that, we've got some DPW repairs for a truck that came back. And we're working on the security issues, so I think Denise is talking to
but
the
we
chief.
should probably round it up a bit.
We should.
So
I mean,
if we made that 60,
That would be good, and then if we don't
And then
spend it,
just
we don't
goes
spend
back.
it, yes.
so then that would bring your request to 70,000.
Yes, thank you.
Anything else, Rick, that you'd like to
he's
say?
gonna be at town hall next. So
Yeah.
Oh,
It's just the next bullets.
What kind of skid steer we get?
what?
Pardon me?
What kind
Oh,
of
I'm
skid steer?
sorry.
We got the skid steer was a
Do you
Mustang.
see if anybody has questions? I'm gonna call Allison.
All the attachments and everything too, or no?
Not all of them, but we got a Miller,
Got a few.
yes, we got a Miller, a sweeper, we got a base plate that we can make other modifications to it if we have something. Like, for instance, we already modified it once and put a Reese hitch on it so we could move a trailer. So,
It's got hydraulic attachments on the front that you can, so it's like an auxiliary you can add. to-
Yeah.
If you
exactly.
want to put a mower on the front, you can do that.
Brush hog,
Yeah.
forestry mulcher, all that cool stuff.
Yes,
Things we're renting that we don't need to.
We also have that $30,000 for the forestry vehicle we got in the grant.
So there's
You
30.
said that's sitting
30
there.
and
It
30.
is, there's 30 for that, and then we got, it's 35, and we got 30 from Wingover to match it.
Yes.
So,
Okay. I just remembered that. Any questions, John? Do you have any further?
No,
Deb?
No, I'm all set.
Jay?
30,000 from Wingover? How'd that happen?
so, because they're sitting next to
Yeah, I know.
10 million
Was
gallons
that
of
their
water,
idea,
there
or
was
we
no need
asked
to put
them?
a cistern in. The water's right there. So, they were, part of the planning requirement was that they had to put in a separate cistern that the town would have to maintain. And it didn't make sense with the standpipe sitting right there, that we draw water from already. So they agreed it was to mitigate that expense from that project. They gave us the match to the, what we know. Well, I tell you, I'm all about trying to save money where we can.
No, I was just curious how and why, that's all.
And we need a forestry vehicle to deal with all these solar farms because we don't have a vehicle that can actually get in and maneuver around as mobile as we need to be.
Or any of our other wooded areas where,
Any other questions? All right, so.
so thank you all.
Don't go,
So
you
don't
get
go
town
away.
hall,
So
you got
that's-
town hall issues.
That's
that-
70,000 directly for DPW on the docket. Town hall, so we have a bunch of priorities listed here.
So there are a number of things. DPW's come out and actually looked at some of them. One of them is on the southeast wall. It really needs to be reshingled. There's a window that has a gap in it about that wide. It's blowing air through it. It needs some work. It's original to the, the renovation 30 years ago, so I don't want to say it's original to the building, so I don't know how old this building is. But it's in pretty bad, that side of the building is in really bad shape. The bow window in that area needs to be replaced.
How
And
big is that bow window? How many panels?
three panels.
Yeah, it's,
I only ask because we just replaced ours, and it was total with, well, we'd be doing the labor, but the window itself cost us about 7, and it's a 3-panel.
So we probably get this from, like, Remodel's Warehouse,
Yeah,
or
okay.
we won't
Okay.
go with the,
Well, we didn't go top of the line either, but.
there's definitely some soffit repairs that need to be done around this building. And the walkway out front, if you were coming in tonight and it was the middle of winter, it just makes ice everywhere out there. There's too many dips in that brick walkway that it needs to be redone. So that's about $40,000 worth of work, I think, that you would come up with.
Yeah.
For those first couple items,
Yep.
you mean?
and it does go to the question that I asked on DPW itself, and is that the supply actually on lumber now isn't bad, but price is not good.
Well,
So-
we're using cedar shingles or vinyl?
No, we would replace in kind,
Yeah, because they're really up there too.
yes.
They just started to come down again, but
Yeah, but our contractor said don't expect much more.
So what I would like, Mike, Chris, everybody, is not to be pigeonholed into the shingling has to be the 21, because if the window goes a little higher and the shingling goes a little lower,
So for us to identify a dollar amount and which projects that would fit into with some
So
flexibility.
we believe these are projects that DPW could actually handle too, from either their maintenance or their staff. So I don't know, sure if we'd be doing contracted work with this.
we would do some contracting work, and again, some of it relies on whether or not the seasonal help, which has not proved fruitful over the last couple of years, but if you had a retired carpenter, if you had a retired handyman who could do some shingling, some painting, that would help lower the overall cost. It wouldn't lower it necessarily than this, but we would hope to do some of it in kind, in-house, but the shingling all depends on time and expertise.
So Chris, you're suggesting for that,
Probably 50 grand for those 4 items.
50 grand for those 4 items?
And if something has to go out the window, then that's what we'd have to do.
And what they're suggesting is that we give it as a flexible package? Okay.
So then I did talk to Joan in her office about some of the needs that they had, the treasurer, and while we were doing some air conditioning on this, which will start, I think, another week or two, they're gonna start retrofitting this part so that the chambers will be air conditioned.
Well, I've got the clerk carpet as a priority.
Yeah, it is.
Last thing we were talking about.
And I will tell you, the
And the
treasurer's
clerk
office is,
mini split AC heat unit. That was mentioned last time as a priority.
I mean, I would wait, I know the windows are probably an issue, but they could probably wait until we're done with those projects. And then she's got some computer security issues that she'd like to see as well, too. Which would probably be a contracted vendor.
Do I have that here? Oh, yeah. And then I also have lower level dehumidifiers
Yes.
as a priority.
It is a priority.
So there's 2 mini splits for the clerk's office here?
So there's one for the clerk, and then there's one for the treasurer, and it would be the tax, I think the tax collector.
No, so in the middle, there's a clerk mini split AC heat
Yeah.
unit for 17.5, and then lower down below the flooring, there's another, below the tax administrator mini split, there's
Oh, I have
another.
it in twisted.
But one's 17.5 and.
Yeah, one's 10,000.
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
You only need one? You're only looking for one?
No, I'm wondering if it's for the assessor area, assessor building.
Why is that,
Yeah. I think
why
that's
is
it.
that 10,000?
It's maybe a smaller area.
Yeah.
Small unit.
And then I have the lower level dehumidifiers
Yep.
and the fireproof cabinet.
So Denise has been telling me that nothing down there is fireproof, so it would make sense to do something with protecting some of our records.
I thought she worked in a fireproof vault.
Who?
Denise downstairs, in her office in a vault.
No, they have a ton of records behind and underneath
They got a big
storage. and-
safe.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah,
Looks like a vault door to me every time.
She's in a little tiny room.
I don't think it's ever been closed.
no.
I don't think you dare close it.
I don't think anybody knows the counter to open it.
That's punishment right there.
Don't ever go in there.
You got cutters for that kind of thing there, chief?
So the
Thoughts?
clerk cop ed is a priority. But the windows, you said we could hold off on?
I think we could hold off on them. I mean, I'd rather see some of the interior cosmetic stuff done first. I mean, those windows aren't as bad as the ones on the other side. They're, could be replaced, but it's, if you're gonna prioritize stuff, I would probably knock that out for now. They don't draft as bad as what's over in John's office.
Well, every single thing on this list is 143.
Yeah.
Add
10.
13,
Yeah,
no, 13.5,
all right,
to bring it up to 50 for the first,
right.
the DPW items.
So it'd be,
But if you don't do the treasurer's office flooring, you know, I'm a big maintenance person lately, not lately, forever, because that's why a lot of this that we need to repair now is because we let it go.
we just haven't done it yet. I mean,
Right.
I mean, downstairs, the carpet is
So
as bad,
the-
if not worse than John's.
So the whole thing would be like,
157.
157.
and that would do the repairs for town hall.
One thing I would mention is it doesn't lower this number, but one of the things that can keep the number this low is that the disposal fee, you wouldn't have to have a contractor necessarily include a disposal fee or a dumpster in his, or some demo work that DPW could do. That would come under just basically the general accounts that we have for disposal and labor and equipment.
I'm gonna say, what, you got a landfill we don't know anything about?
It's not capped yet, Chris.
Huh?
It's
Not
not
capped
capped
yet.
yet.
Oh, it's
Close, but it's not there
You
yet.
can't put anything in there.
Bay Street.
All right, so, okay, so this page, if you want to just blow off this page,
which page?
this page we're looking at with
Yep.
DPW and Town Hall, it's 227,000 combined.
Yep.
And then we have to buy the assessor a vehicle. We've been putting that off forever.
He actually had another appointment tonight. He did ask, did he could have, I told him, look, I said, they know you need a car. You haven't had a car in a year and a half. And he has been using his own. And he hasn't been hitting me with a lot of mileage, so.
Say, what are we paying mileage for that?
Well, we do pay his miles if he asks for it, but he's been
But he's
been
entitled.
generous enough. He's not even putting in for it. But we do need to get a vehicle for
So-
operations of.
So if you include him, it comes to 247
Oh, for the whole page?
for the whole page. I'm just looking at pages right now, because, well, it's really not that bad. I know it looks.
No, I know.
But it's really not.
Believe me, we've done everything we
We're
can to
not-
keep it down.
Yeah,
No, I mean, it's, yeah, you get
Yeah.
a lot for your money here.
right. All right.
So so the vehicle's really expected to be around 20 grand?
Well, I'm not buying a new vehicle.
No,
He's expecting me to buy a new vehicle. I'm not.
But we all know that used ones cost more than new ones right now.
Well, actually, I found that out when I had to buy one for my wife.
Yes,
I could not believe, I was
that's why
shocked.
I asked.
So maybe he will get a new one, just not a Volvo.
I think any kind of four-wheel drive vehicle, because he
He's
does,
driving around in a little Kia now, isn't he?
yeah, but that's his own car.
I know.
But some of the laneways he goes down, the places he
Yeah.
goes to, and people are not too happy when he arrives either, so it's, I don't want to see him have his car.
They're not happy. Yeah. All right. Any questions for anyone?
No, I just think that, the vehicle, that's gonna not be realistic, that
No, I do, I think it's
20,000.
realistic.
You think so?
A used four-wheel drive vehicle, I think we can get for that price. We have a guy over the police department, does a really good job of finding vehicles at really good prices.
Okay,
Yeah, we shouldn't have
It's a
gotten rid of-
1945 Willys Jeep.
300,000.
No, that would probably be more.
300,000 miles.
Be careful, how much we talk about the chief and his grants. Somebody's looking for a bigger raise.
What, you went, yeah, well,
I'm not going there. That's not on the agenda tonight.
yeah, that's a whole nother night. Okay, thank you, Rick.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Why not?
Mine should be easy. I only want just a little tiny bit.
Yeah, I have your priority. The priorities that I have, and I don't know why, but last time was the siding,
Yes, that's top priority.
and then the AED,
In the bathroom.
and, oh, no, I have parking lot paving and line paving that I thought you said.
Yeah, but the vinyl's number one. Everything else I'd love, but
And that would finish the building.
yes,
Finally.
please.
4 years?
Please.
5 years?
So
Yes.
30,000 is what they've quoted us? All right.
Yeah, I'm hoping they still honor that.
When was that quote?
For the,
When?
oh
When, Jen?
goodness, last spring, they had told me they would honor it at that point. But,
Right.
I've been,
That's the west and the north, right?
It's 3 sides.
the other three sides, I don't know what's.
The front.
The
Howard
back's
probably
done, but the
stayed
three other
right.
sides, the front and the two sides.
West and the north, Jen?
Yeah, where's the east, west, the sun rises in the
No,
east,
it's
yeah.
fine.
We're somewhere in there.
Okay. So,
It's the other three sides.
the other 3 sides.
Northeast and west.
Now, what's the,
So the one thing I didn't recommend though
bathroom.
was the parking, added parking, because we don't have any place to put it.
right, 'cause
Until we get
I
rid
wrote-
of this, until they go on a
I wrote
sewer.
septic there.
Right.
Yeah.
we-
Can't do anything
So there's
over the
really, there's really
septic.
nothing we can add more parking to.
Yeah,
Can't
that's,
really do it alongside the building.
And,
because then you
and,
get
and I will say, she does need parking. Her facility does get used,
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Wednesdays and Thursdays in particular, we're bursting.
There's a few neighbors on the road who aren't too happy about it.
Yeah.
No, Chris is recommending the bathroom, you're basically recommending to do the whole thing except for the parking.
Right. I mean, for the amount of money that we're looking at to bring her
And then it's
facility.
finished?
And
Okay.
Chris and I on the side, we're looking at the siding, it's probably at least 35 at this point.
I'm hoping it isn't, but it most likely with everything else going up, I wouldn't be surprised.
So we could give her 90.
Was there something going, maybe Deb will remember, wasn't there an issue about the water line that goes in there?
They
We were
fixed that.
waiting-
They did
waiting
that.
on doing parking lots until
Yeah.
that was done.
No, but they did that. They
fixed that.
replaced that. They did that before COVID, or was
It
it
was a
during
while
COVID?
ago. I think it was
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, no, they did that.
Before my time,
Well, I remember, yeah, and I remember they didn't want
Right.
to do anything. with
before
parking.
me, I,
No, but they did fix, they went
It
in
was
and
before
replaced it.
Chris, that's how long it was. It was before Chris was here.
Yeah, oh, so it's
Yeah.
gotta be
Oh,
before, yeah, yep, but it was done,
You
so.
don't remember that, do you? No.
Nope.
I do. It was.
Yeah.
It was a
Well,
long
that's
time
because of the
ago.
budget, yeah.
Yeah, well, we heard about it a few times.
All right, so if you gave her an additional 7, just in case the siding goes up to that, it would bring that amount to 90,000.
It sounds like just a little bit, compared to what I've been listening to.
Well, the fire and police are always quite
I
high.
know,
All right, all right.
but I'm easy, so
Any
hopefully.
questions for Jen?
I got your.
Why are Wednesdays and,
I got your membership.
which days are the busiest, Janet?
Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Why? What's
Well,
going on?
Wednesday, we have live music in the afternoon, so we have a lot of people, plus we have cribbage players. And on, what did I say? Wednesday.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
It's actually Wednesday and Thursday, I'm sorry. Thursday, we have bingo, so that brings in a bunch. Plus, we have the knitters, too. So
Don't you have yoga too?
we have chair yoga on Tuesday mornings.
Chair yoga?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My mother used to go to the chair
Yes.
yoga. Yeah.
Yes. And we haven't seen her in a while
No,
lately.
since COVID.
Oh,
she-
yeah.
I make her stay in.
No.
All right, all right.
Straight.
No questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Stu? You remembered us today. No, I did this a little differently, though.
So when I came before you with this last time, the number was a little bit higher. We actually went back and refined it a little bit more and reduced it. Also recognizing, based on what we'd heard last time, that there were going to be a lot of requests placed on you, figuring that, try to take something off your plate.
Now, I have circled all the security cameras you thought was a priority.
Yeah, so security cameras, one of the things that we looked at was tying those in with the other areas of the town for where we had security cameras. In speaking with Chief Jones, he's looking to switch the systems that they use. And so while I think having security cameras is important, it's one of the things that looks like it's a little bit in process for him in terms of what he's looking for. So I'll defer
So
to
you're
him.
suggesting take off any of the security cameras at this point?
These were the quotes that were based on what we received previously. I would say from a recreation standpoint, until we get a recommendation from the police department, it's not as high a priority on our list.
So what is your,
So on this list, going from the top down, we're looking to add a wheelchair swing to Town Farm. That was the first item.
Yep.
The trust took a look at the skate park, and one of the items that they are started requiring, I guess they didn't previously, is fencing that goes all the way around it. That's an area where we're required to actually put that in. And in speaking with Director Rogers, this was an estimate that he helped provide. It actually was somewhere around 18.5 with a little bit of a cushion. And again, that's just to satisfy the needs of the trust. The other items in here, and it looks like the Excel document when it PDF'd cut it off a little bit, but looking to replace the building at Town Farm on the top of it. And then also looking at potentially a feasibility
So
study.
you're looking off, he's looking off a slightly different list, so you gotta work between the two.
Get a bounce around.
I think that's here. Let me see.
yeah, I don't see the replacing town farm.
It's multi-purpose
It's a
building,
multi-purpose building.
275,000. So it's under Town Farm Recreation Complex. So 1, 2, 3, 4th item down.
Ours is in a different order. Stu.
275 is the number?
Correct.
Correct.
Yep.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so the first 4 items on here, just to go through it, and again, you'll find them on there. They might be in a different order from the prior version of this, but the wheelchair swing at 5,000, the skate park fence at 20,000, replacing the multipurpose building at Town Farm at 275,000, which would be a combination of some storage, bathrooms, which we need, as well as it could be used as have a meeting space over in that area of town. And there are potential grants that we could look at, especially on the bathroom side of it with compostable restrooms. So I think we would look to try and factor that into it too.
Is that going to include the septic system you're going to have to put in?
Well, that's one of the things we have to look at. We've done a little bit of initial research on it to see if what's there is viable. We don't have a conclusive answer for it yet, but
If you put a new building in, you got to meet the new
well,
code.
and we're also one of the things we'd want to take a look at is if that's the exact same place where we'd want to put the existing or the new building over top of the other one. But again, we're not looking at you were talking before about a public safety complex. We're not looking at something on that scope. We're looking at something much smaller. So we do feel like we could probably fit it within this.
Are you talking near that stone building, near the tennis courts, that end?
No, well, so where the existing bathrooms are, where the
Those
tennis
old,
courts
old,
were,
right.
right next to it, that building would have to be demolished. And then that part would probably be used for parking. Directly across the way, there is some space that could potentially be used where you have the grassy area now and then the parking. You could put a spot in between with sort of a pass-through that allows, so that's not a bad spot for restrooms to be as well. So, but again, in looking at what the DEM in particular is promoting, compostable bathrooms are one of the big areas that they've been awarding grants lately. So.
So no septic necessary.
No, you wouldn't.
All right, and what else, Stu?
The other things that we're looking at in here is with Bulgamarsh, a feasibility study for it. The building that is there is crumbling. There is an opportunity to potentially expand that footprint and do a number of different things with it, including potentially provide office space for the police department, something Lieutenant LeDuc and I have talked about. I think we're looking at it from a feasibility study standpoint because we're not sure which way that might want to go, and we'd want to get community input. It had listed 25,000 in that space. And then the other pieces as you go further down our list relate to replacing lighting in different various parts of town, which serves 2 purposes. Right now, if you're at Bulgamarsh during the evening, the playground's in the dark. And I will credit the DPW, we're working to improve and fix on those.
And that's
but-
also a problem if the library's having something.
Yep.
or if we're having something in the library, there's an overflow into that parking lot.
Yep.
And I was there for something we had, and it was pitch dark over there.
Yep.
And I saw a woman almost fall.
Yep.
It's pitch dark. You can't even see where you're going over there.
Yeah.
During the concerts this summer.
It was during something that we had there as a town, and people were parking over there, and I did. And I think I mentioned it to Chris, that this is like a huge safety issue.
Yeah, and the estimates you're seeing here, so one of our commission members is involved in commercial lighting and helped us source these just as an estimate for it. But again, both from a safety standpoint and also from, in the long run, if we upgrade our systems, they become less expensive to maintain and they last longer. So looking at this really through a couple of different lenses. And then as you get down further on the list, there are things that we'd like to do. But, for example, when we did the town farm survey, a splash pad was something that was recommended. It keeps coming up. And in fact, it actually was, I think, the number one item that people liked.
Can't we get a grant for that? No, holy cow.
Potentially. What I would say with that is, in speaking with a couple different vendors, $200,000 would give a decent-sized splash pad, and then the annual cost, depending on size, from electric, it's less than $100 a month because you can turn it off. The cost of water will vary, but they said if you average around, you estimate around $10,000 a year for it. Could be a little bit less. So just to give an idea if you are considering that.
Bugamash lighting is $68,000.
That covers a large portion of it, pretty much does the whole area, I think with the exception of the skate park part.
Some of them are almost falling down.
Well, I think it's the park.
One of them did fall down.
Did?
Yep.
The leaner that was over towards the library?
Yep, it thankfully missed the brand-new scoreboard.
A lot of
So
it.
there may be money available, like deals available through National Grid, right?
For polls?
So my suggestion would be, and I know there are a lot of wants here, that we've never really put together a feasibility and action plan.
Right. And I think we do need a swing, a wheelchair swing.
But we do, I agree with that. That's,
Okay.
I didn't know about the requirement for the skate park.
Yeah,
I thought that was a want, not a.
you mentioned that to
Trustee-
me.
I don't
trustee
want a
told me
fence,
that.
I don't.
And,
I'm not saying you don't want them.
but I don't, so you think like the Bugamash lighting we should wait for?
I think we should do like, really, we should have somebody come out and do a full engineering of it, just to,
What,
you know,
and to piggyback off of that, if you look at the way Belgamarsh is laid out, the parking layout is horrific.
Horrendous.
So, and there is, I think there's Verizon cable that goes underneath that we would have to make sure we avoid, but you could create more parking space if you actually had a planner come out and take a look at it. So I actually support that. I think we want to make sure we get it right and providing something in the long term, because as you said a few minutes ago, if we do it and we develop a maintenance plan for it, then you don't have me back here asking for as much from a capital expense.
So what do you think of feasibility with?
I'll take recommendations if you have one. I mean,
I don't have one, so I was gonna say, I don't know, 75 grand to do all these different parks?
Sure.
Is that just for Bogamash you're talking
No,
about?
it'd be Town Farm, Bugamash. And I do know that, there are some areas, while he has them on here, they've been somewhat neglected for quite some time. Like the Hooper Street, we have done nothing down there since Bay Street issues. And it's a pretty populated area of town, and I'm sure there are some kids there that could really benefit from having a park that can be utilized. And I don't think right now it's being utilized at all.
Can we do anything in that part?
I think we can.
Yeah, I think we can, I think we,
It's not part of the remediation.
Yeah, I
No.
thought that, no.
But I think it somehow got tied into that, and it just got totally neglected. But it's, there are assets that we own that we're not doing anything with, that we should really
then-
do something with.
like stuff like the bench. We have the power plant money.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do civic stuff.
No, I agree.
So, like, something like benches for the middle school softball field,
Yep.
that'd be perfect with
Yeah.
a little plaque that says
There's-
donated by.
There are a lot of places where there are, I don't want to say, smaller, but less expensive additions that can be made. So things like you'll see on here, sunshades for the softball fields, benches in different places. I know that they actually would go a very long way for the people that are utilizing the facilities, but it's on a much different scale than I think what Chris is talking about, and I would agree with that. I think, the numbers we're looking at here are based on initial research, and we could come back with something far more concrete in the future if these opportunities present themselves.
So-
Madam President, before you go on, could you just explain, because I know Dennis doesn't know, I'm not sure about John, what the power plant money is?
Wasn't Dennis
So-
here when I got the check?
year.
So, he was, but he may not understand why.
Last week, the last
So as
meeting.
part of the assessment of the power plant for their tax bill, they have a payment in lieu of taxes program to stabilize the amount of money they provided to us. When we came to an agreement as to what that number would be, they also offered to provide $100,000 a year for 2 years to help support some civic initiatives in the town above and beyond what their taxes were, and to give that to us free rein for the council to determine how to utilize those funds. And basically, we've done a couple of things with it.
We've given it to Stu for fireworks.
We haven't yet, but yeah.
But we did, we agreed to. We did the middle school, we.
That's
helped-
right, that's the one thing we did
helped
fund, yeah.
complete the softball,
Softball fields.
and what else?
Didn't we do the parade out of that?
No, no. So we did those two things, because Mike Dakotas came to us to finish that up. And then we're gonna do fireworks this year, but because fireworks is very complicated, still, we put it off till.
Yeah.
the-
We do have
looking to align it with the
We do have to get
parade.
working on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
So.
How long is their
and-
pilot for? How long of a pilot program did we enter into with the power plant?
It was a 3-year, I think it was only a 3-year, right? No.
No, it was shorter.
It was
shorter.
shorter. It was shorter.
It's either
I think
3 or
you're right.
5.
It's either, I think it's 3.
It might be 5. I can get that information to you.
Thank you.
It might be.
It's not 20 like it was.
No,
It's-
no.
That's what I was asking for.
No, it was a shot. So if we gave you 20,000 for the skate park,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just talking top of my head, and the wheelchair swing,
Mm-hmm.
and then give you 75,000 to do a feasibility study.
I think so, and
You want to do
speaking,
100 for that? Do you really think
the-
feasibility studies cost?
there's,
I think if we put the right people together, and that's the other part of
Okay.
that, and we'll put that on the council agenda to create a committee to do this, and to hire an architect to come out and do what needs to be done. But I think that gives us a much better roadmap on where to go with these things, instead of, and I'm not criticizing, it's more to me like a knee jerk, and when we do this, we're gonna find out there were probably other things we should have done that
We
we.
put all these lights on and then we decide that we have to.
Well, it's just, I don't know what kind of building we want, what do we want to put in, and, you know, where we're gonna go with this, and while it's great ideas, you're gonna find as you're halfway through it that there were things that weren't considered as part of it that were required, and so I would really like to have a formalized plan.
I'll also offer that I think a lot of what you're discussing are items that would have been entertained and reviewed, but there is a difference between having a volunteer lead that charge versus a professional, and I think when you're looking at the amount that we'd be talking to invest, I think it's a good investment up front.
It is,
So 75 for the feasibility and then
25 for the other
25 for the other two,
that's fine.
for now.
For now.
Okay. We'll get us done, at least get in the right direction, and then we'll have something to work off of.
No,
That would be,
I appreciate the consideration.
So the feasibility study is under the building, but it's really the complex.
1.9.
It's not,
What am I missing?
not
Well, I didn't think it was in.
building, no, it's
Oh, you're talking?
No, I'm including the schools.
Oh, okay.
the lights and,
Yes, okay.
Yeah, for the
Because I thought about, yeah, okay.
complex.
yeah.
All right.
$100,000 for rent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so we did the schools.
Yeah, the library's here.
So the landfill, I did put it in both areas, but my gut reaction is we really should take it from American Recovery. We should, and there's money there to do that. So it really should come off this list.
American Recovery.
For the landfill closure.
The landfill.
That's what we,
Well, no, we haven't voted to do.
no, but we
No.
talked about it in the past.
So another item that did come up is Pocasset Cemetery.
Can we do the library?
Yes, we can. I'm sorry, we can do the library now.
We kind of let
I'm
them
sorry, I
just-
keep looking over there too.
They just hung around for $15,000.
I know.
They've been pacing around
I
patiently.
even have a handout for that as well.
Of course you do, Kath.
Thank Thank you.
I enjoy that you always come prepared.
Oh, she does. She's a librarian.
Get ready for February too, or March, whenever we come see you for budget season, I'll have a whole booklet.
I know.
So librarian / building architect /
All right, so 15,000 for the
Septic expert.
Yeah, remember that?
That was all part of grad school, right, Kathy?
That's right.
And all of this is, that estimate is correct?
So we're requesting $15,000 for siding repairs, computer replacement, and landscaping. So those are our top 3 items. Shades for the trustees' room and community room, those would be the absolute last thing. And if there were funds available, then we would use what is left over after the first 3 projects were complete. As you all know, siding repairs were something that we focused on back in 2020. So there's a few things that have come up, nothing major, but definitely we want to keep the good things rolling about keeping our siding up to date. The next item is computer replacement. So we have a replacement schedule for all of our patron computers and also all of our staff computers. They have a 5-year warranty. So once that 5-year warranty ends, we're sort of looking to get new machines in, and they are pretty high-use machines coming from being used by the public and also by our staff. And the other part of this would also be replacing our literacy stations in our children's library with tablets. And those tablets would actually be able to be checked out and taken home by our patrons. So that would be an added bonus to replacing something that is very set in the library right now as like a desktop machine. And then last but not least would be landscaping, and this would be the south beds and the west beds. So if you're looking at the front of the library, it's to the left side of the building.
You sound like Jay now, it's Southwest.
Okay. And so that has been sort of overtaken by some invasive plant and weed species in there. And so we had a volunteer come by and take a look and sort of give us some news that it would be best if we really just overhauled all of the beds. And this is really essential because it's going to keep all of that vegetation away from the stucco siding. And so that's something that we want to make sure we're keeping all of the weeds and growth away from that, so we can maintain and upkeep that area. And then lastly, the shades, as I mentioned, it's a low priority project, but we do have some sun bleaching on the woodwork in the trustees room. And I've also had several patrons mention that the sun comes in very strong in there.
How much would that cost? Do you have any idea?
I think a few $100s, probably less than 1,000 or 2,000.
You think so?
It's 2 large, tall windows, so it's not anything more than those 2 windows in there. And then the community room is actually a door and a small window, 2 small windows. And that would just be for better daytime film screenings and also presentations in there.
So you think if we gave you 2,000, you could get that all done, all those shades?
I would think so. So we're at 15,000 now.
I'm thinking, why not, right? I mean,
Well, these are inside, right?
They're inside. Mm-hmm.
Yep, should probably easily.
she's only asking for 15, guys. Okay, any questions?
Thank you for
My only
this.
question is, when we get talking about siding,
For the shades.
sure 15 grand is gonna be enough for this whole thing?
I think so. Back in 2020, we had, I believe the final number was around 6,800 or 7,200. And that was for the entire building. No repairs had been done. So I think we're in a very good spot now. There's just a few areas that we'll want to maintain and upkeep at this time. And that'll also help us really see any major issues that could be coming down the line, which I don't anticipate that there are.
I'm thinking anyway, but, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we could do the shades, don't you all agree?
We'll go back to the shed.
Okay, so the shed,
So there needs to be a roof put on that shed up there, and that's the only building up there. It's,
Oh, Pocasset, yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah. Yeah, it is. Okay.
Then I have the last thing.
And then council member requests, I think that's you,
me.
Mike,
Yep.
yeah.
So this is a very, very ballpark amount.
yeah, I have no idea what we're
Right.
doing. You just
Right.
gave me a phone conversation
Yeah,
quickly and.
Right, so the EDC has had multiple discussions, and it also links back to a study that was done when Chris Spencer was the planner, and from what I gather, that study can't be found.
That'd be like 2010, somewhere.
It was right before, it was during your time, wasn't it?
I don't remember it.
You don't? I remember talking about it when I came in.
Yeah,
And I
so
thought, yeah,
it's not there, but, I mean, if you listen to a lot of the, or watch or read, a lot of the discussion around projects for the north end of town before the planning board, et cetera, we know that there are folks who are concerned about some of that, and the council has very little role in that, but I think if we put together a study, have a group to work with it, and have the EDC lead that project, it will help us look at what we really want to have up there, what makes sense, what kind of businesses, what kind of mixed-use residential we want to have that will improve the outlook of that area of town. So that's what that is, and again, the 100,000 is a ballpark. It could be, I doubt if it would be more, but it could be less, so.
any questions?
How is this going to interface with the comp plan?
That was
That would
my
have to
question.
take, that would have to be taken into
Yes.
consideration as it goes
That's
forward.
really our guiding document for that.
Right, right. And I,
So I'm wondering if, back then, we used to get some monies from community development block grants years ago, and we haven't gotten any since 2016 or 17, we don't qualify anymore. But I'm wondering if that was funded through that, and maybe they have the study? I can reach out to,
yeah, if there's something pre-existing that can just be dusted off. and
let me
looked
reach
at.
out to that group to see if they have, some historical
Yeah,
records
and
on.
that would have been done before the current comp plan.
Sure, well, yeah, because the current comp plan, I think, was done in 2017.
Joan, that doesn't sound familiar to you at all. Yeah, see, it does
Yeah,
to me.
and I heard of it.
It does to me, but
Was there anything in?
It was like streetscapes and I don't know. I know that when, this was after I was off the school committee, before I was on the council, I know there was something done.
Are you sure you're not talking about form-based
Yeah, I was
code?
wondering.
I don't.
I think it was during that.
Something had to be
Perhaps,
used
but I
think
to
he
get
did
the
it.
form-based code.
Yeah, my understanding is it was done and nothing happened with it.
Because when you talk about streetscapes,
Yeah.
and that all
It could
was
be.
discussed with
It could
The
be.
form-based code.
form-based code.
Which never got codified.
Right,
That's what that is.
okay. Now,
Just a quick clarification, when we say the north end of town, where are we going from?
So I would say from 24 north on the west side.
Okay.
I mean, we can look at other areas too.
I'm just curious.
That's just a really hot topic area right now.
so I'm looking at these numbers. And I know this is gonna sound really bizarre, but I think we can give the fire other things, like the new roof, the air conditioners, like we can give them those 3 items we didn't prioritize.
So, and I know I've had limited conversations with yourself and no other members of the council about maybe trying to preserve some of these monies, and I'm not trying to hoard monies. I know that there are other projects that we have that we really haven't, not on this list. And one of them in particular is redoing the zoning.
Yeah,
So I want to be
Okay.
somewhat careful about, and I'm not saying you can't revisit this later.
right.
So I can't foresee what's gonna happen a month from now or 2 months from now, and I would hate to tie our
With the
hands
schools.
with everything today And I know that we have
We
a
wouldn't be
proposal.
tying our hands with other, but Mike just did some figuring here. And if we give the schools the 1.2,
Yeah.
and we give all the priorities we have talked about, we're at 2,067,374.
So I
So
think
we've got-
that gives you a pretty good cushion to sit on to
It gives
to
you
then
another-
redevelop some other
But
issues.
keep in mind, we have to spend it this year.
So you do, you have to obligate it
I
this year.
think we have to obligate it this year.
No, you can reserve it, because we're carrying, if you look at the beginning of the sheet, the summary sheet that I gave you, it shows that we had a $55 or a $40,000 carryover from the prior year. So it doesn't mean it can't ever be spent, right? So if you had, let's say,
So if you allocated it, and then it doesn't end up getting spent,
it's just gonna be in the balance for you to reappropriate
but do
it.
we have to allocate it?
No, I don't think you
I don't
have to.
think so.
Okay.
I'm going to try to look it up.
I don't think you do. I don't think you're obligated to spend it all.
Right, we just can't allocate the money
And I'm
that's
not-
coming in this fiscal year now.
Right, I want to be clear, I'm not saying that I'm ready to vote for the school to get 1.2, because I want to see.
Let's see what the
I
numbers
want to
come
see what
in.
those numbers.
I'm not
And
just-
like, so,
Well, one other thing,
but I think they could use their reimbursement to bring it right up.
Right, but let's see what their numbers come
But
out
I
as.
agree, these other things can be revisited
Yeah.
after we've gone through and I know there's still some municipal capital money left. You know, it's not a lot of money, but, $250,000 is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
It is, but it's not like what we're dealing with here. And I'm pretty frugal. I know people say Rick is frugal, and
Well, look at Rick.
So-
Rick, you are, okay?
Chris, what is the plan for funding the upgrading of this room?
so that's another project. That's
Near and dear to my heart.
It is.
Mine too.
All right, so I think the first thing I'm gonna ask for is a motion for the APRA money. For the landfill.
So I would, just so that I can get you there,
Because we have to do that.
we do.
So it's 1.4.
Does that include the fence and everything?
Rick? Because I don't know where we are with the,
Because I thought the fence was another 200 grand, right?
it was, but I don't know where we are with the contingency right now with the,
It's not a job?
No, this is, we're talking about.
Yeah, I
the
understand. Where's the
landfill.
backup for it? Is there a separate backup for ARPA?
there is. It was a one-page sheet. Looks
it?
like
That's the one? Okay.
that's it.
No, I take it back, it's right here.
So we have $4.6 million. We had obligated, no, we have
Make sure.
$4.6 million. We'd obligated 4.5 if you give 1.4 million to the landfill closure.
It shows 1.5 million on this sheet.
I'm sorry, yeah, it is, that's landfill
So
closure,
we'll have 200,000 left in ARPA money.
right.
All right,
Rick.
So the shortfall for the
So it's
landfill,
1.5 now?
Yeah, I would put 1.5, but not, obviously if there's a residual, it will come back. But I'm not sure where we were with the contingency fund on what we're doing between the rock and I don't know where we are with the tower cable issue that we have not resolved yet.
Right, the hiccups, we probably have around, I'd say around 100 in fill gravel boulders. We have about 250 to 300, depending on what the measurement is, for the fence. And we have unknown for the antenna tower conduit, but you could be 300 or 400 for that. Now, whether any of that is reimbursable by Crown Castle, I don't
I'm not
know.
going to give you a full-blown where we are with it, but the tower up there has become an issue. They have an easement to bring power and cabling internet to that particular facility, and that easement is spelled out specifically where it's supposed to be. They are totally outside that easement. And when we went to go cover, it was like, what do we do? So we've been after Crown Castle to get back to us, this is your infrastructure. Well, we'll just cut the membrane open. No, you're not. We're not gonna let you do that, to go outside the easement area, so we've been fighting with them. But generically, we think we have a solution to it, but we have not come to terms with them on how to resolve that.
So that would be, their screw up outside of the easement's gonna cost us potentially 300?
Well, the hiccup.
We don't know what it's gonna cost you. It could, my view is that we should put in, there's a roadway that goes up to the barn up there that will still continue to be there when it's done, is that we should, and it'll be a newer road, it'll be, it's not the existing road. But as they reformulate that road, that they put duck banks in it up to that area, so that we know that there are existing duck banks to get to that particular tower. It would make sense, and I think Crown Castle should pay for it. Their issues, they're trying to, and I don't want to get into the whole thing with it, but they're trying to bend us over to extend the lease. And I don't think that that's fair. We don't know if we're going to go with them on extension of the lease yet. That's something we haven't even entertained.
I mean, rather than spend 300,000, I would just assume we kill the lease and cut the cord and be like, sorry, you guys are out of luck.
Then you're going to put every user in that end of town out of service.
Yep.
So who owns the tower?
You might as well just slice your throat.
Go ahead, John, go do it.
I don't think that that's a very good solution.
Including you, John.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Who owns the tower, Chris?
The town owns the tower. They lease it from us.
Yeah. All right, so bottom line, what do you think we need?
So for the actual landfill closure itself, and whatever, and I'm assuming at this point, we're gonna max out on our contingency portion. That we would need 1.5 million to make the.
And then if we need more money, then, like you said, we have the casino reserve, we're not spending all of that.
Right.
And it's not, this bill doesn't come due in the next 6 months.
It does. That's the problem. It does come due.
Okay.
And I don't know what's been allocated or what Denise has in the till.
So when we started the project, we started with 10.1 million. So, and we've had some revenue come in since, so we've probably brought in another couple $100,000. The issue is we're not gonna make enough money between now and the time that we close this to make up the differential.
Right, you're looking.
And what we did do in the rewrite of that ordinance is that, whatever monies would, even if there's surplus monies, would go back to offsetting the cost of trash.
Yes.
So I think you're looking at about 13 needed. It might be 12.7, it might be 13.3, but it's up there.
So if we give you 1.5,
But I don't know what's been allocated so far, not counting the pay-as-you-throw. I don't know if there's already been funds allocated.
There was, it would be the 10.2.
And again, as Chris said, they're gonna be done basically summer of this
but we
year.
are short 1.5, that's what was figured out.
Yeah, I think we're short 1.5, but,
Just for the closure, but not the other things that may go with it.
right.
Right, but for the closure,
Yeah, I thought we had figured this out to be 1.5.
Okay,
So I'd have to go back to figure out exactly how much money we did earmark to this, because we authorized, well, the other thing is we haven't, well, we did authorize the second.
all right, so why don't we come back to that?
All right, we'll come back to that. It doesn't have to be done tonight, but it does need to be done soon.
Yeah, we need a good number,
Yeah.
a better number.
All right.
But we had,
We'll definitely,
you know, I gotta tell you, Chris, I remember conversations.
I think we've been through
1.5.
this 3 times. and
I do too.
I've got the same number.
I do
ran
too,
over
but
my
I
head,
think
so.
that there's just so much, but yeah, I think so.
We'll come back to it. All right, so we'll do it another night with the council meeting on that, because
So what is the council pleasure? Do you want to allocate some money tonight?
I think we can. I think we can.
I think we can, but, and we could,
Can I make a point before we get to that?
sure.
So, as we all know, the state has the guarantee, that $3 million floor. I've been trying to find the legislation. I believe that floor expires at some point. It would be
What are you talking about? Say it again.
$3 million.
the $3 million guarantee.
Oh.
3.2. 3 million, 3.2. it's pretty obvious that our gaming revenue receipts are not going to be $3 million when that gaming guarantee expires. The 200,000 that's just the
Yeah, but that's quite a bit down the line.
yeah, exactly. Quite a bit down the line, correct. But what I would like to see us do is only allocate the dollars that we have received as our share in the gaming revenue and not allocate the delta between what we would have made and the guarantee, and shelter those dollars somewhere else where we can then earn revenue on that, invest those assets, and then have a pile of money when the guarantee expires where we can utilize whatever interest we're able to pull off of it to then continue doing capital expenditures.
That would be a whole nother ordinance.
Correct. It should be a whole nother ordinance.
Oh, I don't agree with that myself.
I'm just trying to think beyond,
Well, I know
beyond next year.
but this is what I'm gonna say. For the last 10 years, we have put off so much stuff because of alternate budgets and everything else that's going on. And I think that a lot of this stuff is necessity right now. And we didn't get ourselves into this, but just think about the little capital we've invested. So at this point, maybe we can, down the line, 2 years from now, think about this. But I think right now, we need to get this money and catch up. Because a lot of the damages we have now is because we didn't repair them when we should have. So.
And we didn't upgrade.
Right. So I think, John, that you do have, that at some point, maybe think about that. But I think we need to catch up before we get to that point. I don't think that it's a bad idea, but I don't think we're at that point right now. Because we still have 8 years.
I've been trying to locate the specific end date,
I
because
think
I know it
that's-
I
changed.
don't believe there is a deadline.
I didn't think there was
They
either.
sold it to the taxpayers in this town to get that casino in here. They were
It was
guaranteed $3 million
specifically,
a year.
it was specifically in the initial legislation, and then they changed it with the gaming, with the addition of sports betting. I just haven't found the end
But
date.
that didn't change, that was just for sports betting.
I don't think it changed.
No,
the
it was,
agreement
there
to our
was,
town.
there was an, yeah, there was, and we do have to find that,
Well,
but there is
we
an.
did go through the legislation extensively to change it to where we change it to now.
Yeah.
Your dad worked really hard to get this to where we thought was feasible, but I don't remember any date that said that guarantee goes away. And I don't believe Lincoln has one either. And our laws are married together.
Yeah, I mean, Lincoln doesn't matter. Lincoln pulls in $5 million a year, so $3 million to them as a floor means
But
nothing.
Maybe it was the original.
We went through it, Mike and I looked through that to make sure that we would get what we thought was appropriate for the town. I never saw a deadline, or drop dead date that it ended anywhere.
I had it in my pea brain, it was like 10 years, but I can't tell you
You
why.
want to keep looking and.
I will,
and
yeah.
then-
I'll look too, we'll go through, I'll
And then
Mike
if
take a
that
look.
is the case, then we can think about this. But I think for now, we have made really big progress last year. If we do all of this, we are making big progress once again.
We're
And
playing catch-up.
that's the problem. We're playing catch-up.
And I
Because of what?
completely understand that. I would just hate to see us in a scenario where we have several bonds in striking distance, and we get to a period in time, if this end date,
It's okay.
Guess we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
if this end date, let's say we do uncover it, and let's say the end date is, not 10 years, maybe it's 2035, whatever it is, right? I would hate to see us be in a position where we've expended all of that delta in the guarantee, and now we're sitting here looking at not 3.2 a year, we're looking at 1.8.
I do have to tell you also that the town people want this money to offset their taxes.
So this
And
does,
this,
in some respect.
and this was the way we decided to do it. I don't know if
We
they
didn't
were
want
happy
it.
if we put some in the bank. So, you know what I mean? Like, I think for now, because this does offset their taxes, let's
And we're not
admit it.
floating bonds or
And we're not floating bonds.
And
Well,
we're
that's,
not- we're
again,
not-
that's my point, is we should never be in a position in this municipality ever again where we float a bond.
Well, that's what we're
And we should
trying-
start thinking about that now, so we're not bumping into it 10 years from now.
But you-
And if we don't take,
No doubt.
And
can
can
try
I
to-
finish?
We can try to avoid that, but I think that when you're talking building new schools, you have to float bonds. And so that's the problem.
So, again, my point is that if we're gonna have a long-term trajectory, we can't go year to year. We have to put a plan in place and then stick to it and start socking dollars away so we don't run into those issues in 10, 15, 20 years when my kids are able to vote.
Well, I just think what we really need, well, why don't you find that legislation and see, and then we can bring it back.
If you can.
If you can. And then as far as, I think I have a point saying that we're catching up. And I think we will eventually be in a good area where we can maybe do what you're doing. But some of this stuff has to be done.
It does, because we've been kicking it down the road for so
Forever.
long. And the taxpayers want to keep the taxes sustainable. We've decided to put this money into capital, so it pulls it out of the budget, which keeps the taxes manageable.
So in addition, we took 200 grand of the sports betting is going into the general fund.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is going
So
to
it's
directly
put-
offset tax.
Yeah.
And we're not using any of it for operational cost.
No,
Except for the 200 grand.
yes.
Yeah.
But that's sports
But-
betting.
But that's a
But
reasonable.
that's,
No,
that's,
I know, it's not
that's
in the
not the
budget.
casino money, though.
So I think the way we should do it is have a motion for fire.
And if I may, Denise, just so I get out of your hair, along with what you and Chris were saying about at the next council meeting or 2 council meetings, we should have a number for that conduit for Crown
Perfect.
Castle by then. We
Perfect.
might even have it as early next week.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I can start off what I was thinking of doing. For the fire department budget, I make a motion to approve Vision 21 radio call box systems. I'm not gonna say the price, because we've discussed that, is that all right?
That's fine.
Unless there were changes to it.
Yeah, unless there was change. Well, the price for that was $42.06. Air breathing compressor system, hose replacement, replace fire gear, and rescue replacement, which that would be supplement what we already have allocated and put in $90,000 into that.
Did you want to do 120 on that?
120, you're right, Mike. And John has the total. No,
285,256?
285,256.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can we,
Just a quick point on this one, or all of these, I guess. Is this final? Like, we vote, this gets expended?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that right? Yep.
It's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Okay.
can we just get an idea, what was the total of all of these,
I have it.
Without schools, it's,
without the schools?
yeah, it's 106, wait, I'm sorry.
No.
I got it.
It's
Isn't it-
986,874,
Thank you.
including the North End redevelopment study, 886,874
Yeah.
without it.
Can you say that, 986? I'm
Including
sorry.
what?
If you include the North End of
Yeah,
town
that's
redevelopment.
what I did.
Yeah, that's 986,874. If you don't, it's 886,874.
Yeah. So I have a second to the fire. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous, I think.
I think so.
Police. Does someone else want to do that, or you want me to continue on?
No, you're in a row.
You're fine.
Police body armor, which is the reimbursement, which is
The match.
our part.
Right.
Lockers male, lockers female, locker weapon, fingerprint live scan equipment. That's where we have to have the discussion. I proposed the rental fee for the 6 years of $43,200.
And the
And there's one other. No, that's all I have.
lockers for the males is actually 58,100.
The lockers for the
And female
fem-
is
yep.
13,295, and weapon is 43,80.
Yep.
And one,
I have 14518.
118, yeah.
118, yeah.
Yep. Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Personally, I think that we should strip the fingerprint live scan equipment out, stick the $7,800 into the budget, and then come up with savings within the budget to offset the $7,800 and sign the lease for 6 years, rather than expend the full $43,000 this year.
Any discussion on that? So are you amending my motion
I'll make a motion to amend it, I guess, to,
to take the finger?
yeah, pull the
live scan out?
43.2 right out of there, so what is that? I don't know, one,
So, I see, okay.
So I need a second to that. So John's,
For it to go
I'll
forward.
tell you what the number is, hang
to
on.
go forward.
I'll second it so we can talk.
101,918 would be the amended
Yeah.
number.
Okay, discussion?
Well, I know that you wanted to put the whole entire amount in because you were concerned that we wouldn't approve
we
it
need
again
that
next
amount.
year, right? But if we sign a lease, that's a fixed cost that we will have to agree to every year.
So we could do what John is saying and just put it in.
Just budget it.
Yeah, we could do that. Any discussion on that?
I still stand that we do what was suggested by the chief, the administrator, that we lease it now and we pay up front as
Yeah.
with the original motion.
Did the chief say we should pay up front?
Yes.
The entire amount?
He's right there.
Well, he said we can
Yes,
pay, we
look at
don't,
him.
he said
Yes,
we
that's why
can
I'm
pay
saying.
over time, but we have to, it's really lease is entering into the lease now and locking into it.
Yeah.
But if we enter the lease now, we're locked into that payment, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
So it's, forgive the expression, pay me now, pay me later. It's 43,200, whether we go with Councilman Edwards, pay it over time, incorporate it into the budget, or one-time payment and we don't worry about it for 6 years.
It should be overtime. Could I interject as a finance person?
I really can't, well, I guess I could. Go
Am I
ahead.
allowed to?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm prepared to make your point, by the way.
It's basically the present value and future value of money. So if we're willing to pay 43.2 up front, then we should be paying less money than that, if they're to have the benefit of all that money, excuse me, up front. I like the idea of putting it into the budget annually going forward as a cost. Okay, otherwise, it makes no sense.
Or I renegotiate it to a lower.
Can I add one more point to that?
Go ahead.
As the chief just said, you're paying for 6 years up front. What happens year 7? We're gonna have to sign a new lease. At least you're gonna get the budget adjusted to know that this $7,800, maybe plus or minus a couple $100 in, 6 years, is gonna continue in perpetuity, so we don't ever fall out of compliance with the FBI.
Mike, did you want to say something?
My only piece there is we're assuming that the chief is able to find that amount of savings in his budget on an annual basis.
But to add,
And that future, and I know it's a lease, but that means future councils are obligated to that 7,800 and must find that savings.
It means that the overall police operating budget, which the purpose of this money is to avoid taxes, is going to increase my budget for the taxpayer.
By $8,000.
The budget should increase to allow that amount since we're not putting out 43.2 upfront. It's
yeah,
just
but
should
that's
be-
going to be taxable,
Can I-
You're right.
or whatever.
Can I do
You're right.
follow-on point to that? Yes, the budget will increase by $7,800. When we get to the budget season, I can find you at least $50,000 right now.
Of course you can. All right, so, which motion do I vote on first?
You have to vote on John's amendment
Just
first.
want to make sure I'm right. So, and I have a second to John's, which was Deb. So the motion is to not allocate that money from the casino fund and to put it into the general police operating fund, budget.
Yeah, I guess my
Just-
motion was what, I had the whole, 101,918 was the motion for the police.
So, okay. So motion made second, all those in favor?
Oh, wait, your motion included that, or your motion included just stripping that dollar out? Because we still need to vote on the amended motion, if it's amended.
It isn't,
Okay, never mind, go ahead.
so he said 109.
No, go ahead.
101,918, 101,918 would be the total for police based off
That's what
of
we're
that.
voting on.
Yes.
We're voting on whether or not to accept his amendment, which would take out the 42,000 now,
And give us a bottom line number.
and give us a
of-
bottom line number of one, but then
Then we have
that
to
would
vote
amend
for
the
that
main
bottom
motion.
line.
Right.
Okay.
And then we'd have to vote again to get to
To the bottom
101,981.
line, yeah. All right,
918.
so motion's been made in second. All those in favor? All those against?
Apparently I'm the only one who does finance.
All right, so then it's my motion again.
Then we're back to the main motion.
The main motion is 145, 118.
Quick-
I had a second?
Quick discussion?
Yep. Quick discussion.
No offense, chief, I'm going to vote against this.
No.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor?
I actually put it in the budget just as a contingency, so we can take it back out.
You got me opposed?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you forgot to ask opposed.
No, he raised his hand, so I figured. All right, so the next one is the DPW. And it's pretty much the mower side on, which is, we're gonna make 60,000, I have.
Altogether, it'll be 70 grand.
Altogether, 70 grand.
And yeah, altogether 70 grand. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Town hall. So 50,000 for DPW, for reshingle, replace bow window, soffit repairs, and walkway
Walkway
repair.
repair.
Okay.
With flexibility
Let me ask you a
to,
question here. So when you add up, right now, it's like 36, let's say 37. So why did we go to 50?
I was out of the room, but that's what,
because of potential cost increases, and then
It's a
to
big
give
potential cost increase.
well, Eve,
10.
Yeah, it went up 13.7 from
oh,
the 36.3 to make it 50.
there you go. It went up. It did go up.
No, in the discussion.
No, in the
In the
discussion, in the
discussion.
discussion, it went up.
Discussion,
13.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Those first 4 or 5 items, whatever.
I think, Chris, you had suggested a round number of 50,000.
You're gonna reduce it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we can make it 50. It'll go back if we don't spend
Well,
it.
I understand that. I just,
And I think what Rick had suggested was also to
I
have
just thought I
flex.
was missing something about why it
Okay,
went
so-
up that much.
No.
Rick had suggested also to have flexibility within that, so if walkway costs 8, but the soffit repairs cost 3, he could move that money around. So in the motion.
Okay, and then clerk carpet, clerk mini split AC heat unit, clerk desktop computer security, AC mini split for treasurer, tax collector, administrator. We think this AC mini split is for tax assessor, lower level dehumidifiers, and fireproof cabinets.
I believe it was.
157?
I think so, yes. Yep.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Does that include the flexibility?
Yes.
to move?
Yes, the
Yeah.
50,000.
Second.
157 even?
Can I just clarify, we're doing everything?
Except-
Except for the clerk windows.
Except the clerk window, right?
And the treasurer office flooring. We're not doing that one.
It's in here.
I didn't count it.
Okay.
I mean, if you guys want to change it, but
Does 157, does that include the treasurer's office? And
So I
the,
cross that out.
so we cross the clerk window and the treasurer office floor?
oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, I got to redo the math.
Yeah, let's redo the math a little bit.
Yeah.
But I did do the math, and I didn't include the treasurer office flooring, and I did include the clerk windows.
36.5 to 550 is
Do you want me to,
13.5. So that number went up by 13.5, but then you took what out?
I get to 139.
I have 157, so I'm not quite sure what I decided.
Did you put everything in?
Yeah, I put everything in, didn't I, Deb? Yeah,
You
okay.
put everything in.
So
All
we're
right.
taking out the clerk
Nope,
window?
nope,
No, I
I'm
think you
putting
did,
everything in.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you
And
want,
when I put everything in, it's 157.
yeah.
Yeah. right? Because we're adding 13.
No, yeah.
Yeah, because you're
Yeah,
adding
Yeah, you're adding
13.5.
13.5. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. Thanks, Deb. So that's a motion. I have a second.
Second.
So it is everything.
It's everything.
157.
7 even.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Tax assessor vehicle, I make a motion for $20,000.
Second.
Jimmy's gonna get to work.
Yeah, and Patrick's gonna get us a grant for the rest. All right, motion's been made and second. Any further discussion?
No, we didn't give them away, they were towed away.
Towed away. All those in favor? Senior center,
We rounded that to 90.
we rounded that to 90,
37,000 for the first item.
and because the siding we brought up to
Right.
37,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Can I just suggest that for any of these, and if we have to amend the motion, especially those that are construction projects, that there be some flexibility built in for them to move around? So again, if the bathroom renovations
Yeah,
cost
and we
them,
did that with the school department, when we
Right.
gave them all that money too. All right, so that, I have a motion and second, all those in favor? Recreation, I make a motion for the skate park fence of $20,000. And the wheelchair swing for town farm, $5,000, and a feasible study, that's
For all the.
for all of 75,000, for a total of 100,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? I make a motion for the Pocasset Cemetery, repair the shed roof for $2,500.
second.
Motion's been made in second. All those in favor? I make a motion for the library. What I want to do for the library is siding repairs, computers, and landscaping for $15,000, and for the shades for the trustees' room and community center, $2,000 to make it $17,000.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? And the council member request of a North End Town Development Study of $100,000.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Discussion. I think given the fact that we don't know that the community development block grant may or may not have this already, we should hold off on this until we determine if this thing already exists, and we can go from there.
So what we've done in the past, similar to with the school, is if we find other, and certainly what the chief has done, is if we find another grant opportunity that fits the bill, we use that first, and then we only use what we need
And
to.
we don't have to come back.
So I would like to find it so we can actually use it to create an RFP for it.
Yes.
Because we are gonna have to create an
I'll
RFP.
be in the whole thing.
Because I wouldn't know what to put out.
And we may not be accepted for it, because they're tough.
Community development block, we don't qualify. We don't even qualify for that.
Right, okay.
But I'd like to find it so that we could, if they have it.
Yeah.
If they have the
Because
old
it's
study,
it's
if
stable, it's
Oh,
old, so
oh.
we would update it, but I'd like to know what it consists of, what the parameters were. Because right now, we're gonna do a study, but I really don't know how to put the RFP together. So if we can't find it, then we're gonna have to have a meeting to create a committee to put something together. So, but at least you're earmarking money for it. I get that, I'm fine with that.
And if we're not spending that,
It just goes back.
Goes
to
back
the
out.
school.
It just goes back.
And the town administrator lets us know, and we have $100,000 to use for something else.
Play with.
Or you may want to update it. It may be
Right.
15 years old.
Right.
And you want to get new metrics and new,
Right.
based on current standards. I'm not trying to drive the bus, I'm just trying to put you in a position where you can
Yeah,
get on and off the bus.
so I have a motion on the floor in a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Against?
I just don't think we should be
Okay,
encumbering
I
the
think I
funds.
can adjourn.
So I would just say you're gonna defer the school until.
Well, I already said that's.
Okay, and you'll do
We
it.
told them that.
We'll just put it on the council agenda in a future meeting.
Yeah, we
Not
did.
have a special meeting.
Yeah.
And,
So that's fine, yep.
and the,
And the reason for that is because that
We're
was
waiting on data.
uncertain.
Right.
And then I also think that once we get that ordinance in place, that could take care of the difference between the 1.2 and whatever it was. So I think we just need for them to come back. And they're gonna come back in February, right?
So, and they
They've
still gotta do the
got
budgets and
mid-February.
stuff too,
Yeah,
so.
so there's nothing that says, and they seemed very, okay.
They're amenable to it.
All right, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
wait a
moved.
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
What?
Landfill, did we?
No, we're
We're
gonna.
gonna-
So we're gonna do that at
We're
another
gonna
council
wait.
meeting. We're gonna
We're gonna-
confirm the numbers to make sure.
Okay.
until there's back.
I just wanted to make sure that,
No, and I agree, we should, I'll have it all cleaned up. I thought we've done this 3 times from Sunday, but.
I do too, but Rick made me doubt myself.
No, it might, me too, and so,
Okay.
But some other things entered into it that we,
yes.
Yeah,
And we will, it won't be at the next meeting, council meeting, but we will be bringing you up to speed totally on what's going on with that landfill.
it's all right, that agenda's big enough.
I know.
Motion's been made and did I get a second?
Second.
Yeah, wasn't there a motion
No,
to
I made,
adjourn?
yeah, I made the motion, John seconded it.
Yeah. Motion made. All those in favor? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
thank
everyone.
you.
recreation.